Hey, well, I thought I might do a bit of a live. This is a bit of a breakdown I've been wanting to do on this guy for a long, long time. Not good at his working okay, shush, or whatever. This is a bit of a breakdown I've been wanting to do on this guy. Shush, no, down, other one. Oh, good, go. Sorry about that. Not that I'm expecting an audience or nothing. I'm just doing this live because this is I found a convenient way of doing videos. And it's taken me a while to prepare for this one. It's taken me all day of having good old-fashioned iron horse food. Liquid bread. Gotta love it. So now this guy, he made a bit of a splash some time back in the flat earth discussion as one of the big debunkers. And so I tried to do a breakdown of him, as I said, years back, and I just ended up swearing my head off and throwing the phone through the wall practically. It's a bit of a dumb idea. So now that I've got the idea of how to g'day Justin Johnson, good to see you, brother. Now that I've got the idea of how to play a video, comment on it, and stop and pause and keep going without having to hold a tablet thing at the screen of the laptop pretty lamely. So this is not a Professor Dave. I've been through this briefly before making this just this afternoon. I had another look because I hadn't seen it in years, and it was pretty painful. I only got to 5 points, and there's 10 of them, so I'm just going to break them down one at a time and hopefully read through my notes as well. It says I should start at 22 seconds, but that'd be difficult. At 50 seconds, it talks about debunking conmen. So let's have a listen to this lovely fellow here.
Hey everyone, so it's been almost exactly 1 year since I published.
In fact, I can't even get past that. It's been almost exactly. So which is it? It's either almost or it is exactly. You can't have almost exactly. It's got to be a year or about a year. Almost exactly. You've contradicted yourself right from the start, which is beautiful because this is how it works. When you start, the very first thing that comes out of their mouth is just stupid, idiotic. But then they come across as super clever and bombard you with a whole bunch of bullshit. Then your mind's already tripping so fast over the early thing that you didn't even notice it. Almost exactly. Notice I'm giving him the small screen today, not me.
Published my innocuous little flat earth debunk as part of my astronomy series. That was the one that the Globe Busters foolishly engaged with, and their idiotic insult-filled commentary prompted me to make this little gem that they never recovered from.
So this is why I told myself to start at 22 seconds. It doesn't have a counter here on this one, but oh, there we go, 18 seconds. So obviously I just didn't want to deal with it. It's not my problem. It's his insanity I'm going to deal with.
Then, based on the ridiculous comments I received on that video, I made one more to mock the moronic things that all flat earthers say verbatim.
To mock the moronic things that flat earthers say verbatim, which means he's mocking us now. This is what we say word for word, apparently. Who knows? But so before we do get into it, I think we should have a little drink to the little green fairy. God bless a little pixie ass. This is to help me deal with the severe onslaught of this man's words. So we shall carry on, and we are about to start the 10 things that all flat earthers say, or maybe,
or at least they did until that video made the rounds.
Sorry, so that's a different video. That's the one I wish I had addressed, but I found the wrong one. So it looks like this is the one I'm addressing instead, which is the 10 challenges for flat earthers.
And then I
Oh
put the whole
boy.
thing down for a while. It was
Yeah,
never
watch
my
it.
intention to make that kind of content, but it was quite satisfying, and I got 10 times the views of my normal content, which was a plus.
10 times the normal views of your content. So, in other words, people are coming to watch you. What's the word for it? Make a dumpster fire of yourself? I don't know. There's better terms than that. But basically, to embarrass himself, exploit out a whole heap of verbal diarrhea. And so here we go with the actual one, which is the 10 challenges.
But I had to move on, lest I be tempted to rebrand myself from a channel with academic intentions to one devoted purely to debunking con men. However, it's been a year.
That's where I did make a note just to say, to talk about debunking con men. Should we play it now or should we wait? It would be pretty cool to. I'm going to somehow bring another video into this. I'll probably have to close this one to present another one, I presume. I will wait till later. It's all good. He even admits that people write his script. I mean, come on.
I've made so many tutorials since then, so why not jump back in the muck for a second? This time I'd like to offer some challenges to you remaining few that are desperately clinging to this dying fad to derive some semblance of self-worth. Let's call them 10 challenges for flat earthers.
I almost wish I had written that bit down too. Even that is a quote. So well script written, unbelievably good. But let's go to the...
These will be some basic things that anyone could do to test the validity of the flat earth hypothesis. These are so mind-numbingly obvious that the fact that you don't do them is an immediate indicator of your complete lack of intellectual integrity.
There we go. Integrity. I did put it in. Right. So I did write that quote down because I think it's... He just rattled that off so fast. I bet nobody heard what he said. What he basically said, basic things that anyone can do. Map the whole world. No, this is the quote. Sorry, that's what I wrote. First, he said basic things that anyone can do. And basically the challenge is map the whole world. And his quote is, the fact that you don't do them is an immediate indicator of your complete lack of intellectual integrity. So there you go. First of all, people, you cannot map the entire world. You immediately indicate your complete lack of intellectual integrity because you cannot map the entire world by yourself. Anyone can do. That's a mighty big claim there, mister. I would like to see a single glober. Anyone that believes they live on a globe, on a flat sheet of paper, draw a map of the entire world and make it accurate. Make it extremely accurate. I'd challenge any single one of them. And yet we're supposed to be able to do it simply because we understand the nature of physics and water level, and land has to be above water levels. We have to always automatically be world's best cartographers. We must produce the map. You know, how dare we not produce the map on behalf of the globers who keep demanding we produce a map of the entire world.
Let's get started and you'll see what I mean.
What do you mean?
Number one, here's the flat earth map that you all seem to agree upon.
It's an example of something that we would probably think resembles the flat earth. Yeah, it's fair enough.
Anyone with half a brain can immediately tell that this does not correlate with reality, but...
Well, maybe you need a full brain. Who knows? I doubt you would with only half a brain. But that's typical of globers.
For those with an even smaller fraction, let's do a few things to prove it. For example, make a scale.
Make a scale.
Know, a scale?
A scale? You mean like that scale? Is that what you mean? A scale, like every single azimuthal equidistant time and longitude calculator actually has. Okay. Yeah.
It's that thing on maps that tells you how far away things are from each other. Look at this map.
That's a map of a section of a continent. There are 7 continents in the world. And so the smaller and smaller and smaller you make your maps, the more relevant they become, dude. If you want to see the whole world on a map, you have to really question why. You know, what's the point? It might be good for informational purposes, but maps are only useful in your local area. If you're looking for something local, you don't want to be sent 5 kilometers away to the wrong place. You want to go exactly to where you're going. You know, so to be 500 kilometers out, give or take on a map, it would be completely useless. And yet most, if not all, world maps are out by huge amounts. There are thousands and thousands of maps. This clown shows a map of America and compares the accuracy of that from state to state, which is fairly well measured out territory, to an entire world map. What a clown. What a clown.
The scale. You can pick two cities and determine the approximate distance between them.
Yeah, you can, but most roads, you know, they actually do go twists and turns and overbuilt bends and all the rest, bridges, diversions, railway tracks. There's very few places that actually have dead straight roads from A to B, but it can give you a pretty good approximation, of course. But all the same, that's something you can do in a car with an odometer. There's no odometers at sea. You can let out a rope at a constant rate and measure how many knots flow out of a certain thing, which might give you an indication of your speed, which then multiplied by your time would give you an indication of distance. But a real world map is a very impossible thing that not just anyone can do, like it or not.
Then you can drive your car from one to another and verify that it is the correct distance. Now back to your little map. Where's the scale here? Why do you never include one?
Back to our little map. Why is it a little map? We would never call it a little map if it's the entire world. Your map was the little map, you little-brained Peabody. That's just... oh yeah, I think he does present America again. He's comparing this, the entire existence, all the known world, calls it the little map.
Is it because it's impossible? Yes, that is exactly why. And if you disagree, here's your challenge. Pick some distance on this map, a centimeter, an inch, whatever. Tell me the distance it corresponds to in reality. Then pick some cities and use your scale to estimate the distances between them. Pick two on the same continent. Pick two on different continents. Use it to tell me how wide this inappropriately enormous ocean is. Use it to tell me literally anything about the distances between literally anything.
Not to mention we just fly straight lines, but don't let that bother you.
When you can't do it and your numbers do not correlate with reality in the slightest, recall that this map does it just fine. And
there we go. This map does it just fine. A small, localized, still of a huge area, but a much more localized map does it fine. Of course it does. That's what it's designed for. When you want to see everything all at once, insane in the mainframe. In fact, a very interesting, completely unrelated side topic, well, it is related, is a thing that says if you really seriously wanted to know the size of a continent, and they did this in the UK, this is a very interesting thing actually, is that the more they plotted each little area individually, the more impossible it came to measure the actual circumference or, you know, the outside boundary of the actual United Kingdom island. So they found the more you add together, it ends up becoming an infinitely impossible thing to do. So the more accurate your map, the more impossible it becomes. And yet, it's because when you're looking at the small scale of stuff, but when you're looking at the bigger, then of course, you know, a pixel can represent 100 square miles or something. It's sort of nothing. So of course you're going to lose clarity the bigger it gets. So if you're trying to map the whole world, nothing's ever going to work. Nothing will ever satisfy. It's an insane thing to even want. As long as the maps work, we can travel from A to B. We can work out our bearings on the maps we got. Everything works just fine. Why do we need anything greater than the map which looks exactly like the World War II air map they used and created specifically for World War II? It's the exact same layout. Why would we change anything if it works? And all flight manuals specifically state that we fly according to a stationary and flat Earth. They all do it.
And then admit that your map is stupid. Your complete inability to make any kind of...
that cracks me up. And your map is stupid. It's a map, dude. Stupid is as stupid does. What do maps do? They don't do shit. It's up to the observer to calculate whether it works for them or something. Call it a map stupid is not something a real professor would ever do. This is some overgrown man-child who's got no control over his brain. He's in heavily influenced. In fact, I have a quote, because I took a few quotes down in the first 5. He talks about, in the next one, the most meth-fueled creatives amongst you. He talks about the most meth-fueled creatives amongst you could vomit enough magnetism jargon to justify it. We'll get to that. But just that quote alone indicates this dude's got experience with what he's talking about. I mean, an author who writes. Stephen King, something I read many, many years ago, said to be a writer, you write about what you know about. You know, if you're talking shit, your audience will see right through it. A writer has to write what they're knowing about. So to be able to speak and know what you're talking about, to be calling people meth-fueled creatives says volumes about this dude himself.
Remotely legitimate map single-handedly proves the Earth isn't flat. But let's continue just for fun. Number 2, as we all know, the existence of Antarctica poses a huge problem for you. When it is summer in the northern hemisphere, you love to pretend that the sun moves inwards to this tropic, making the days longer here and shorter in the southern hemisphere. And then when it's winter in the north, you like to put the sun at the other tropic, which you think gives you the shorter days up north that you want, but in the south, it's total chaos.
Yes, and that's exactly how it would work, as we've explained with our model, is because if the sun gets higher and higher above the firmament, no different from looking down a tunnel, it can still be going around the equator or the Tropic of Capricorn every day at exactly 24 hours to go around once. But as it gets higher and higher, it's going to appear to make a smaller circle. So if we've got a firmament above us and the sun is shining down through that, then where it hits the firmament will determine the size of the circle. So it can get bigger and smaller depending on the height of the sun above. We can explain that. That works beautifully, and there might be other elements to it apart from that, but that works. The higher it gets, the smaller the circuit gets. So more direct light through the Tropic of Cancer in the center gives the summer in the center side and winter in the outer side of the equator. Then, as it's doing right now, it's the day before the summer solstice, not the winter solstice, you heathens in the north. It's summer solstice tomorrow, and it's raining here right now at 4:49 p.m. on the 21st of December, 2023. Got to add that into my introduction, so now you know. It's thirsty weather, even though it started raining. I seriously need to water my throat a little bit so we can continue. But I want to listen to this guy because he goes so fast. It's so hard to follow. You have to write his quotes down. So he's talking about Antarctica. He's talking about the amounts of sunlight. And as I've often said, I thought I had it here before too. There it is. This little thing. Hang on a sec. Make the screen bigger again. This little thing. This is called a tetrahedron. It's just a crystalline figure. It's made of fluorite, this particular one. That's a tetrahedron. A star tetrahedron is where they intersect one another, making the Star of David type of figure. I sort of predict that there's something energetic field in the skylight, in our dome, that creates this aspect of light transferring. So it acts like a pyramid. So one side can be in complete darkness, while the other 3 sides can still have some amounts of light when the sun is low enough on the southern side, which would then create the effects we see of 3/4 of the outer Earth, the southern side, outside the equator, bathed in daylight a day. And you watch his evidence supports this.
You have the sun tracing this enormous trajectory, which would leave everything out here in darkness for most of the day, when in reality, there are long periods of time in Antarctica where the sun never sets. Since your dinky little sun...
Allegedly. I'm not even going to argue that one at the moment. I'll go into that on another one, but I don't think there's a 24-hour Antarctic sun at all.
Can never illuminate this entire fantasy ice wall at once. This completely obliterates your model, which is why you resort to conspiracy. You simply deny that this midnight sun ever occurs.
Okay, I cannot confirm nor deny that it actually occurs. And even if it did, I'm sure that there's an explanation for it. It doesn't debunk the model. You know, a coffee cup caustic effect would do it if that's what you really insist upon in Antarctica. We can see it in the Arctic Circle, plain as day. There's very authentic videos for it, but not in Antarctica. We don't need any conspiracy. If somebody could seriously and genuinely prove it, then by all means, we'll find an explanation for it. That's how it works.
While claiming that no one can go to Antarctica to verify it for themselves, because the government NASA Jew penguins will kill you.
Government NASA Jew penguins. I guess only a Jew could get away with saying something like that, because imagine if one of us goy said that, we'd be prosecuted and channel would be shut down. But this guy gets promoted. Yeah, make fun of him, by making fun of us. Ha ha ha, you're in on it. We're conspiracy theorists, anti this, anti that, blah blah blah. We're the racists, is basically what you're saying. And yeah, this is really clever propaganda shit, man. This failed musician who plays in gay bars in San Francisco could never have come up with this on his own. This is all script written, as you will find.
You. Well, apart from all the commercial cruises, civilians can even apply for jobs there, so you totally could go see it for yourself. But you don't really have to go all the way to Antarctica. Just go to the tip of South America, like this town.
Like this town. You can't even say Ushuaia. All of this still comports with exactly what we expect on our stationary planet Earth.
Where people live. Or don't even go there. Just look up times of sunrise and sunset on the internet.
Yep,
in mid-December, sunrise is earlier than 5 a.m. and sunset is later than 10 p.m.
5 a.m., 10 p.m. So earlier than 5, which is 5 hours before then, sorry, 7 hours before midday. And then another 10 after 10 on the other side is 10 plus 7. So you got 17 hours. So 24 minus 17 is 7. And yet in a quarter of the cube, of any squared cube, a quarter of it is 6. So 6 hours would be what you'd be expecting. You know, 3 and 4. No, it's still getting 7. So between 6 and 7 hours of darkness in Ushuaia matches the whole quarter of daylight you would expect at the southernmost extremities on the longest day of the year. It actually matches the crazy thought that this crazy flat earther thought maybe this, the way light spins around with Polaris at the very top of this star tetrahedron skylight. Anyway, say a flat earther can think of something at least.
Now take your little model for the seasons and make it show night and day.
Take your little model for the season. This is what drives you up the wall, man. Anybody that understands what a model is about. There's a brilliant video. Everybody must have seen it by now, surely, anyone in the flat earth community. Can't even think who did it. Just about the model and showing that a model is just an aspect of a thing. We're talking about the whole of existence here, man. You know, all of reality. Day and night, the sun and moon, everything all in one, 365 days of the year, the weather, the oceans, the mountains, the topography, the plants, everything. We want to see a model. There's no model of reality, man. Get real. It's a little model. It's because you guys keep demanding and demanding and demanding models. We try and come up with something that sort of demonstrates how the light must obviously be working. Don't put it back on us for us succumbing to the pressures from you.
And try and make the night and day portions match up with these sunrise and sunset times. Yeah, demonstrates a light from the sun illuminating this location for more than 70% of its trajectory. And as you do that, make sure that it does not illuminate Point Barrow, Alaska whatsoever during its entire trajectory, as that town has endless night during this time of the year. That's right, lots of sun over here and zero sun over here. Good luck. If you decide to even try, observe that the light patterns become so nonsensical that not even the most meth-fueled creatives amongst you could vomit enough magnetism jargon to justify it.
See, that's the quote I took from him. God bless his cotton little socks. Good luck if you decide to even try. Observe that the light patterns become so nonsensical that not even the most meth-fueled creatives amongst you could vomit enough magnetism jargon to justify it. Magnetism jargon. Dude, we're talking about Lucy in the sky with diamonds. See, in the northern center, the firmament is flat. But where the crossover points become, because it's a star tetrahedron, the diamond sort of demonstrates that better than anything else. Try and bring it a bit closer to get that glare out. Is that the light coming from a certain angle is going to be refracted through different facets to give different people different amounts of light at any given time. So if that ain't meth-fueled creative enough amongst us without magnetism jargon to justify it, I don't know what is.
If you can't make your model show the seasons and night and day at the same time, as I pointed out that you can't almost a year ago, then seriously consider shutting up forever.
So yeah, it does. You've got the four-sided star tetrahedron, which is a pyramid, an upright pyramid, a down-facing pyramid. They intersect one another in that Star of David thing, but it's a three-dimensional energetic field going around us. So that's why when you're in the inside, you see the stars going around the center point when you're looking up. Geez, a bit of lightning, a bit close. When you're outside of the equator, the intersection points of it, you turn your back, you're looking the other way, but because it's a reflection of it, the stars seem to be going a different direction in your personal quarter of the world as you're seeing it in your nighttime. It can easily be explained.
Number 3, here's an idea. What if you were to actually make a prediction with your model? Like any prediction. You know, those things that you have to do in science for it to be science? Pick any celestial object. A planet, a comet, a star.
Okay, I love this from the start. For us, we have to pick a planet, a star. Did he say a comet? A star. I'll just go outside and pick a comet. Oh, I'll pick that one tonight. Thank you very much. I'll have that comet. High expectations, dude, and expect us to predict where it will be. Well, if you did notice and watch for many years of your life and you watch them moving backwards and forwards, the average person would have a fair clue as to where to look at any particular time of night to see a certain constellation. Like right now at 3 in the morning, if I look directly upwards towards the northwest slightly, there will be this huge, beautiful image of Orion. You know, I know that because out of the years I've been watching the stars, I can predict it will be there. For us to be a computer memorized robot to be able to predict this sort of shit, who does he think we are, man? We've had astrolabes for hundreds and thousands of years, and all these people based it on the fact that the Earth is geocentric, that everything revolves around the Earth, and these things work mechanically perfectly to a T for thousands of years. You can predict anything, or whether they assumed it was a sphere or not is irrelevant. They just knew it was geostationary. So from wherever this thing was made, it was made from a stationary place. Stationary and flat just sort of go together. You know, even curved spinning water doesn't make sense, even if it was, but they go together. Stationary observations, easy to make predictions on the flat Earth. If you were hurtling through the galaxy, okay, so if everything's moving with you, then why even bother saying you are moving anyway? If it's moving relative to something, maybe you're not moving at all. That works for a start. Where's the parallax between the stars? You know, the closer something is towards something more and more and more distant, the more you'll see a parallax change as you move. So if you're the one rotating, go around the sun, the parallax of the stars should absolutely change all the time. So what does he do? Instead, he makes the impossible challenge for flat earthers, and then he says what globe earthers can do. You watch.
Now pick any time in the future, and using only the flat Earth model and nothing else, tell me where it will be at that time. If you can't do this, and I know you can't, consider admitting that your model is absolutely irrelevant.
And that, as I said, the astrolabe does it. So we've done it. So you've failed there. We can meet your challenge. But what do you do? What do you do, Mr. Weak-ass?
Relevant. People who actually understand the geometry of the Earth and the solar system can predict a solar eclipse, specifying the start and end time down to the second and tracing its precise path down to the square mile.
So this did my head in for a bit too, because why was it going from west to east, getting later and later, starting? But then I thought, oh, well, yeah, in the globe model, the moon actually does rotate west to east backwards around the Earth, even though from our perspective it always rises in the east and still sets in the west. But because it does it 50 minutes slower per day, that's what they say, it goes from west to east around us 2,289 miles per hour. I correct myself, I've been saying 2,280 for all these years. It's actually 2,289. So it's 9 miles faster than I thought. So the moon, get this, it goes so slowly around us. It's our spin that gives it the appearance of going from east to west, and yet the eclipse will go from the west to the east and takes what, 9 till 9, 10, 11, 12, 5 hours to cross the US, which is 5 time zones. So that seems fairly reasonable. Was it 4 time zones? There's only 4 time zones in the mainland US, so it makes no sense because the Earth's rotation is the thing that creates the appearance of the sunrise and sunset and moonrise and moonset. How the hell can the moon be traveling back that fast? Anyway, we can't trust everything you see on the internet, and I think Professor Dave here. Oh, geez, I missed a few comments here. V. Thomas, Sea Lightning, Giao Lorenko. Why would YouTube recommend this to you live? I've got no idea, man. Stop drinking urine. That is not. Well, apparently the people that do drink urine, it is healthy. I've never done it. Everything's dying. Are you excited? Oh, V. Thomas, you're such a cheerer-upper. It's an evening here. Thank you, V. Thomas. Yes, thank you. Alan. Oh, cheers, bro. Jeez, nobody hits the thing on my thing. Come on. See, like you got number 3. Professor Dave is not my type. Thank goodness. I don't think he's anybody's type. But oh, I get it because we're talking about a gay bar. That makes sense. Jeez. Okay, let's catch up to speed here. Shadow Band, what's up? Hello, Alan, if you're still here. They're still here. Cool. Aussie Gold's here. Awesome. Now we're getting the party started. Radio. So the quote I wrote down for this number 3. First I made a comment. First we need stars and planets. Then all we need is a solar eclipse. Yeah, I should have read that earlier. Astrolabes, Antikythera device. Remember the Greeks, that they all believed it was geostationary. I'm so glad I wrote notes because I would never remember to say that. The quote is, people who actually study the geometry of the Earth and the solar system can predict the solar eclipse, specifying the start and end time down to the second and tracing its precise path down to the square mile. Doing that even just a single time means the model made to make the prediction has been undeniably verified. It's done every single time. Anyone who doesn't see the importance of that has no clue how science works. Did you get that? I mean, I really think maybe we should listen to him say it again.
Else, tell me where it will be at that time. If you can't do this, and I know you can't, consider admitting that your model is absolutely irrelevant. People who actually understand the geometry of the Earth and the solar system can predict a solar eclipse, specifying the start and end time down to the second and tracing its precise path down to the square mile. Doing that even a single time means the model used to make the prediction has been undeniably verified, and it's done every single time. Anyone who doesn't see the importance of that has no clue how science works.
You have no clue how science works if you don't understand the importance of that. If the model works, then God damn it, that's the importance of science. God damn it. Holy fuck gee. I'm so glad I wrote that quote down, because it really has to be said again and again. People who actually understand the geometry of the Earth and the solar system can predict the solar eclipse, specifying the start and end time down to the second and tracing its precise path down to the square mile. Doing that even a single time means the model made to make the prediction has been undeniably verified. Well, that's exactly how I debunk Eratosthenes every single fucking time, is by saying, part of my English is that the model does not necessarily mean the prediction that matches the model means the model is right. There could be multiple other models that do the exact same thing. So if Eratosthenes was setting out to prove that the Earth was flat and stationary for a nearby local sun, and he did that exact same experiment, then the results proved that, if that had been what he set out to do. So you cannot turn around and say that the model, which obviously you've had to presuppose the model in order to make in the first place, and then you've made it according to your predictions, and then the predictions come correct, doesn't mean the model is correct. If you assumed it was a ball and that the shadow cast on the obliques whilst casting that shadow down a well elsewhere was not due to curvature of the Earth, then your model fails. But it still matches the predictions. So it does not, for 1 second, mean that when it's done every single time that you've got to read it all. It doesn't make sense just taking the last bit. Doing that even just a single time means the model made to make the prediction has been undeniably verified, and it's done every single time. Anyone who doesn't see the importance of that has no clue how science works. Well, true. Once you see the importance of that, then you understand how science works, and you can predict, well, if another model where the flat Earth gives us the exact same predictions works, that's science, man. That's science. So you're sort of right. No matter how condescending you can be, he's the most condescending prick in the world, for part of my English again.
Number 4, after I demolished essentially all of your favorite talking points in my previous videos, you all...
So this is what you call resting on your laurels. He has to then assume that, everybody has seen all these previous videos. He's debunked it before, so he doesn't have to do it again, but now he can just speak more shit over it and say, well, since I've already done that and riled everybody and gave me 100 times more views than I've ever had before in my life, well, now I can just wish-wash over that and show you what appears to be, I think, the skyline over Chicago from the shore lake. I don't know, I'm not American. Somewhere in Michigan, I believe.
All now cling primarily to the classic "I shouldn't see this thing" argument. You love this one because you can lie about heights and distances.
No. We can prove heights and distances, as the Black Swan has done. They proved how high the camera was above the water. In this one, you can literally see. I mean, anyone that's got any sense as to how vision works, everything nearby is going to appear larger as things get smaller and smaller, like street posts down the road, for example. They will appear to shrink and get smaller and smaller. That's the first aspect of perspective, which is why then the waves at the front of this image appear much bigger than the next set, then the next set is smaller, and the next, until they eventually start blending into one another. They're all pretty much waves of more or less the same size. So you have to ask yourself then, why then does the entire image, all the water beneath you, which if you're standing above the water, why is it rising to eye level in the first place? It should not ever need to do that. if you're on the ball, it should be ramping down from you immediately, because it can't be ramping up 360 degrees around you to eye level unless you live on this magical golf ball dimple world that I've described many, many times, where the horizon magically rises to eye level no matter what your height is, because you're in a magical golf ball dimple land, and the horizon will just rise in accordance to your elevation above the water. No matter how high you go, climb a mountain, it'll still be eye level. Go down into a valley, well, the water will still be at eye level if you could see to a horizon of a lake. It's a bit hard to see because then you've always got other things in your way, the mountains and so forth. So you're really having a large body of water gives you a really true sense of perspective with the horizontal, if that's what you're looking for. Mountains and other things in your way always getting in your way. Hence why this is pretty good, because the waves, the biggest thing in front of you, only takes up for an eighth of the picture, or a quarter of the space, a fifth maybe of the space all the way to the actual horizontal line in the center of the frame. Why would it rise up in the first place? Why, if refraction is the cause of lifting or bending light over the curve to lift the stuff 60 miles away up into the air to horizontal to sit on top of all the water, which is ramping the other direction? Where would refraction ever be possible to do that? If it's going to ramp it up all the way over the curvature, it'd be way up in the air, or you'd be way up in the air looking down on it or something. I cannot understand that explanation for the life of me.
Do incorrect math, and in general act incredulous without having to actually do any science. Well, every time you whine about this, the objects are always suspiciously close, such that you can fudge the numbers, and they're always over water, so you...
60 miles? Suspiciously close? You know how much a drop would have existed over that? Oh, man, the mind boggles. I could do the maths, but I couldn't be stuffed.
You can lie about refractive effects to people who have no idea how refraction works.
You mean what globers do all the time? Oh, thank you. It's like this is definitely written by a professional glober because he knows all his own tricks. As Stephen King specifically said, if you're going to write what you know about. He's exposing himself. Sea lightning is still worried about the direction where the sun rises and sets in the south. Oh, it makes no sense on a globe. Sorry. Makes sense with the firmament. And it makes even more sense with, as I said, this energetic body in the star tetrahedron shape, which is part of our skylight, which for all intents and purposes looks like a diamond. That's... I don't go too much into that because I'm trying to keep this brief, actually, and I've probably been ranting and raving forever already. But this part, the rain's getting heavier here, so I'm struggling to hear because I don't have speakers on this computer, just the inbuilt ones, but see how we go.
So try this one on for size. Show me a picture of something over land that's 1,000 miles away.
Okay, so first of all, we understand that, as we discussed in perspective, the number one thing is that things start diminishing in size. So to be able to see something 1,000 miles away when something 60 miles away, it's a huge building, looks like the size of a block of Lego. Not even a block of Lego. It's a block of Lego chiseled into 8 parts and a tiny piece put on the horizon. It's so tiny. It's ridiculously small in 60 miles. So you've got to talk about 1,000 miles. This guy's showing his sense of unrealism, how much he understands things. Now, maybe if you had a really, really, really good zoom camera with an infrared lens on it so that all you saw was the light so you could see through all the haze and everything else, as somebody called J. Toll and Media One has actually done from a good position somewhere in California where there's bugger all mountains between there and the distances, he has actually captured mountains 1,000 miles away. He may have been in an aeroplane at 30,000 feet. But that's not the point. The point is, you shouldn't see more than 100 miles away at the best of times if the Earth curved, according to the calculations. You shouldn't even see 50 miles at any time. It's insane. Anyway, show him something 1,000 miles away from the flat Earth. Well, we have. So there you go. There's that. And I think this is where I started writing the quote down too, which goes across the page, and I didn't even finish the next one. May I suggest the middle of the country somewhere, there's not much in the way. It's a straight shot after all. So what's the problem? Use a telescope. Pull Las Vegas into focus from Dallas, Texas. Let's have a quick listen.
May I suggest the middle of the country where there's not much in the way? It's a straight shot after all. So what's the problem? Use a telescope. Pull Las Vegas into focus from Dallas, Texas. Isn't that where you have your little meeting?
Isn't that where you have your little meeting? See what a condescending little prick this guy is. And this is how people gain followers, because if anybody that's never even looked into flat Earth before, and this sort of little prick is the first one that you get sort of thrust into, they're going to be looking at this and saying, wow, this guy knows his stuff, man. Oh, look at him put them in their place. Yeah, they all have their little meeting somewhere, do they? So there's so much following the what's the word for it? The protocol ain't it, but it's the religion. I don't know. It's there's some sort of thing. It'll come to me. It doesn't matter. It's not protocol neither, but it's following the paradigm, the thing that flat earthers are the stupidest people in the world. So as long as you don't get a chance to prove that you're not, that you actually have some idea what you're talking about, anybody new to the subject is getting shuffled away like, come through biting all the way through this by presenting it like this and saying that flat earthers are so stupid. Oh, we can't even understand maps. We can't understand. We have our little meeting. We should be able to see from one place to the other, even though we know for a fact everything gets so small in the distance. You can't pick out your house from 20 miles away. It's impossible. 20 miles. He expects to see 1,000 miles away.
Maybe you should try doing something productive rather than blindly perpetuating the dumbest hoax on the internet.
Maybe we should try and do something productive rather than promote the dumbest hoax. Did you write that down? Maybe you should try doing something productive rather than perpetuate the dumbest hoax on the internet. That is his exact word. So, I mean, are you seriously thinking a failed musician is thinking this, or is this something he has been, hey, dude, we've got an acting job for you. You've been a professor before, haven't you? You've got some credentials. You can speak intellectually. We're going to chuck you some shekels, and you can say, maybe you should try doing something productive rather than perpetuating the dumbest hoax on the internet. Now, as we know, all publicity is good publicity. So even though this is bad publicity, it's actually good publicity. So they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot in the first place, and he is obviously then participating in what he himself calls the dumbest hoax on the internet. No wonder he wants to separate himself from it, because he knows he gets his ass kicked. But hilarious stuff.
Number 5, speaking of things that are far away, you all love whipping out your Nikons so much that I wouldn't be surprised if a Nikon executive dreamt up the entire flat earth hoax as a viral marketing campaign.
And here you are again promoting it yourself. So, pot calling kettle, hello black.
You take a boat that's far away, pull it back into focus, and then marvel at your own brilliance for...
Exactly. Now, what did the ancient Greeks have? 500 BC. They didn't even have a telescope. They had their naked eyes. If all they were relying on before the Nikon P900 or P1000 existed, it would seem pretty obvious that it's disappeared over the horizon. When it has, and you have the technology to bring it back into view, then quite clearly you have just done Nikon a huge promotional favor. You've just debunked the Greeks because they didn't have technology, dude. They didn't have technology. So, of course, they would come up with ancient, superstitious, silly, nonsense ideas to explain the nature of the world they lived upon when they had no technology but we have technology now. So obviously, even these things will have a limitation, but it's far more than
figuring
the
out
naked eye.
how to operate a camera. Well, try this one then. Stay on the boat. Don't cut away. Stay on it until it disappears.
See, you can already see how massively zoomed that is by the action of the waves appear super duper close. The maximum of those waves you can see at eye level, if you're 6 foot above the water, is only going to be 3 miles. So the fact you can see the boat as far as you can, way, way, way out of focus compared to the water, the size of the water, compared to the size of the boat and how fuzzy it is, it could only occur on a flat Earth.
How will it disappear? Bottom up, just like everything else.
No, it would not. It could not. If it was going over curvature and that much distance, it would absolutely be going over nose first with the arse end up in the air last. It's absolutely how it would go. It would not appear to just be slowly sinking because the stuff in front of it is getting magnified so much to the point that thing is too far away to resolve anymore. Insanity, mate, insanity. There's no way that could be caused by curvature.
I wonder why you've never put that on YouTube.
Well, it's on YouTube. We can see it. You've done it for us. It's going down like this, like it's on an elevator. It's not leaning over a curve. It cannot possibly be curvature. The only logical explanation is the way perspective works by putting a convergence point at eye level. And as taller things get further away from that eye level, they will start to get obscured bottom first. That is the only explanation that works in the modern age for somebody who actually understands science.
Number 6, the most hilarious thing about Flat Earth is that the most mundane everyday observations make...
No wonder I got upset, and that's where I stopped. That's where I started thinking to look at something else altogether. But obviously, I'm just going to have to work my way through the last 5. Thunder and lightning out there now, no wonder. Fun. Let's just carry on.
Make absolutely no sense in your model. Like a sunset. A small sun above a flat Earth would simply recede high in the sky.
Now that there shows how little this professor, who professes not to be a professor, I should have, maybe that was where I should have jumped in. Who cares? I'll just carry on. I do have another video of Professor Dave to put on. I'll maybe do it after this, but I should put it in the middle, I reckon. How do I do that? Present. See what happens. Not that one. And this one.
Designs James Tour wasn't a fan of the...
You know that I have not been a proponent of intelligent design.
And proponent of intelligent design James Tour. I just thought it'd be fun to have like a little persona. You know, Professor Dave, it's just a little name.
You know, I don't have a PhD in chemistry or anything, but I, you know, did work in, you know, I took courses with laboratory components as an undergrad, and then I did most of a master's in synthetic organic chemistry.
But I didn't really last long. I dropped out in my 2nd semester. I wanted to move up to San Francisco, and
I probably should say I am using this for commentary purposes. I hope I don't get a copyright strike by using this, but so
play music. And then I moved down to Los Angeles again for music opportunities. And but I eventually got this teaching job for organic chemistry at this little trade university. It was a pretty lucky break because with a bachelor's degree I was only supposed to teach the laboratory portion, but on the first day the lecture instructor had this freak out. He just took off, and so my boss came up to me and he said, "Look,
I think we should interrupt this guy right here, right now, because I can barely hear it because of the rain. Tin roof here. I'm pretty sure that the microphone works really well on this laptop that records the sound, so you shouldn't be interfered too much by the rain. But for a moment, I thought that this image might have been reversed. Now, sometimes camera shows you the mirror image because of the way all these. That's right. I'm using the mouse here, but it doesn't come across on the screen, unfortunately. If you look at his symbols across his keyboard cover, I think that might actually be his keyboard stand cover with a dinky little Yamaha keyboard or something on top of it. But you see all the lunar and the solar symbols, the astrological stuff. That's the same thing he has in every video, and he even says, yeah, I spend all my time in this room. I barely leave my computer. I get stoned all the time, and I'm a failed musician. And but yeah, so it's not actually reversed, because if you look up in that image, I worked it out. It has to be the Beatles, because the dude on the left, you've got to look really closely. I really wanted to try and prove that the thing was backwards. And say, oh, they're all playing left-handed. No, hang on. Two of them are playing right-handed, then the one on the left is playing left-handed, so it must be Ringo in the background. So to me, it must be Apple Records, Quinky Dink. Oh, I don't know. Failed musician, I don't know. Let's let the loser ramble on. Professor Papatsky. Professor Papatsky. It's a hard one to pronounce. It's a bit of a tongue twist.
You got to go teach the lecture. There's nobody here. They offered me the job permanently, but contingent on me getting a master's at the same time. So I went over to Cal State Northridge to give a second shot at a master's degree in chemistry,
and found that I really, really hate it. I really didn't like it at all. Do not enjoy doing chemistry.
But through a bunch of bureaucracy, quite frankly, I lost that job, so I had to withdraw yet again from the master's program. A lot of you ask very incredulously, are you a real professor? I sit literally in this room like 60 to 70 hours a week, and I chose the name really without much thought. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek, to be honest. I just thought it'd be fun to have like a little persona, Professor Dave. It's just a little name. They offered me the job through a bunch of bureaucracy. I lost that job. I chose the name. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek, to be honest.
So, and even at that time, I had no interest in being a chemist. Do not enjoy doing chemistry. I really, really hate it.
Professor Dave, it's just, a little name.
Professor Dave is not a real professor. Dave taught courses before he had a master's degree. Dave dropped out of master's school twice. Dave lost his teaching job. In a tongue-in-cheek move, Dave then go to the YouTube channel and called himself a professor. Dave now has over 1 million subscribers. So let's get this straight. Dave then personally attacks James Toole, PhD, one of the top 10 chemists in the world. Dr. Toole then corrects Dave's misunderstanding of the scientific literature, provided no personal attack, yet Dave attacks again. This will be interesting. See, I hate when people just leave text on the screen. I should have read their bits too, but I reckon remove from studio and add to stage.
And smaller until it fades away. It absolutely would not retain the same angular size. About flat Earth is that the most mundane everyday observations make absolutely no sense in your mind. Like a sunset. A small sun above a flat Earth would simply recede high in the sky and get smaller and smaller until it...
The dude understands nothing about perspective. The first thing about perspective is things in the distance get lower. That's the very first thing. So automatically wrong, stupid, dumb, idiotic, moronic, unscientific, fail. Professor.
Fades away. It absolutely would not retain the same angular size and set below the horizon.
Well, it absolutely could if you realize that the horizon is only 3 miles away and the sun is making a orb of light, and the atmosphere is what reacts to the orb of light that gives the sun an apparent size. The sun has no size otherwise, it's just the atmosphere. So whatever atmosphere you're seeing it through, that's what gives it its size, not it itself, because it isn't a thing. It's an orb of plasma. So I had to go on around that one.
It stays the same size because it's unbelievably far away, and it sets below the horizon because the Earth is a sphere that is turning.
And there you go. That's something I've been into a lot of arguments lately, and I have to chuck in here anyway, just to avoid all the copyright bullshit stuff. Talk too much and play too much of their stuff. Is that see that angle where the sun would be skimming through that tiny little gap between the clouds. And if you understand anything to scale, of course, on a normal classroom-sized globe, the scale of the atmosphere is less thick than the coating of lacquer on the globe. That's their scale that we're given. So clouds being barely a mile up and the stratosphere being 250 or whatever miles up, whatever they tell us, even if it's 70 miles up, 1 mile up at the minimum for the clouds gives such a tiny gap for the sun to come through another gap where there is no clouds coincidentally on that particular day. As the Earth is rotating 25,000 miles in 24 hours, that means it's 1 1/3 times the speed of sound. As it does that to create the illusion of the sun setting, that sunlight sneaks through that gap and underlights clouds for 10, 20, 30 minutes, lingering twilight colors on the bottoms of clouds, moving faster than the speed of sound, where the entire sky should disappear in 4 seconds. That's how fast it should be moving at speeds that they give us. Don't ask me how I know that, I just do.
Even a toddler can understand this. It's so blatantly obvious that you have to resort to your typical ad hoc antics, talking about refractive effects that defy all logic and somehow magically apply to the sun but nothing else.
That's completely untrue. We don't apply refraction to the sun. You guys are the one applying refraction, and why we see too frickin' far. We say it's perspective and atmospheric obscurity and just the way things work. There are hundreds of videos out there showing how sunset works on a flat Earth, where quite often it does get smaller if you're high enough and there's not too much stuff in the way. Most of the time you got something physical get in the way. Another mountain, trees, whatever. You've always got stuff in the way hiding the sun setting itself. But the higher and higher you get, the longer and longer you'll see it actually disappear into a smaller dot. So it's not like you say that's impossible isn't actually possible. It's entirely possible. It's just not our everyday experience, because most of the time we aren't up somewhere really, really high enjoying a beautiful sunset.
Or even better, some of you talk about a dome with the sun on the other side that produces some bizarre optical effect. Apart from the sheer absurdity of this magical dome that no one has ever seen or touched, it creates big problems for you, because you also claim that the sun and moon perform other kinds of magic to push the air and water around to get...
See, this is why I can't be bothered to watch this sort of nonsense and debunk it, because when somebody makes up false claims in the first place, it's not up to us to debunk the false claim. We can just say, you're speaking through your ass, you dickhead, which is what I think I did the first time around, to the point I got so frustrated I couldn't make a decent coherent video about him, because he just drives you nuts with his insanity. I mean, even that model, who gave him that? I've never seen a flat earther come up with something that looks like this. Maybe in our early days when we were all experimenting with different models and stuff, we might have thought, perhaps it's like this, perhaps like that. We'll work around it. But the way he's putting it to make us look like that is our model, sorry, dude. I don't know what fallacy they call that, you know, the poisoning the well fallacy or something, putting words in our mouth fallacy. That's not our model at all.
Tides and storms and what have you. That would require that it is inside the dome. So which is it? Is the sun outside of the magical non-existent dome so you can pretend to get the sunset? Or is it inside the magical non-existent dome so you can...
Okay, well, I don't think it's either. And it's both. That's the way it works. I don't think we've got a dome like he depicts it all. As I've always said, you know, I think the closest potential argument we have is something like, again, a diamond-shaped thing, something similar to that, and the dome is like more like that. So this would be Antarctica, and so this thing right at the very bottom would be equivalent to what they call the black sun. It's all energetic frequencies, but I don't think that it's actually like some video show of the black sun saying it's creating the sun and moon. It's all part and parcel of the model, as far as I'm concerned. But when he shows it like this, it could be part and parcel of the model too. There could also be a dome intersecting through a star tetrahedron skylight, because it's all on an energetic frequency, on a different vibrational level from the physical stuff, but still has real world effects and imagery, and why we see the stars we see at night as we do, as a result of the way they are moving around above us, as the sun does. So if you flattened out that dome completely and you put the sun, well, probably at about that height, but put it, yeah, I can't do it. Doesn't go to that part of the screen at all. Maybe try that one. No, we want the opposite of that. Don't think we can have it. No, we've lost the video altogether of that one. What about that one? No. All right, so anyway, can't demonstrate with my finger. But if the sun was way, way above the firmament, and the firmament is just this 70-mile high sheet of ice, for want of a better term, frosted glass ceiling, as the sun was shining down through it and got higher, that's how it makes its image into the ice. No different from how a fish in a frozen lake looking up in the daytime would see an image of the sun itself in the ice just above it. It's exactly the same sort of thing is what I suggest is happening. So yeah, I say it's outside of the firmament, spirals around above us 24 hours a day, peaks at June 22nd, gets to the lowest point December 22nd, tomorrow, making the biggest circuit around us. And still the same size circuit, just appears biggest because it's nearest to us. So yeah, this is when the sun of God truly does return closest to Earth. But then when he comes again to give us eternal life, he's actually getting higher and further away again. Interesting. It's not until June 22nd that he actually starts returning. Northern Hemispherians giving us all sorts of weird fables and stuff. I don't know. So yeah, that model, but you
tend to get the tides. It can't be both. Or if you bail on the dome and say it's just water, how do all those water molecules that make up around 1% of the atmosphere produce 1,000 times greater refractive effect than actual liquid water?
Actual liquid water?
How does the appearance of a sunset never vary at all, whether it's...
I think that's an important question. I might have just glossed over it, but what the heck? He hasn't started a new point. He's just waffling on, hoping that the, what do they call that? The scattergun effect or scattergun fallacy. Keep on firing as many big questions as you can, and hopefully that nobody will pay attention. You'll win by default.
It's dry or humid or raining. Why does nothing else but the sun behave that way? Show me a projectile or a plane going below the horizon as it recedes. Or show me this dome and explain the phenomena with more than buzzwords. Do something to explain a sunset. Do anything besides making idiotic videos with action movie soundtracks that contradict middle school level science.
See, once again, even just to make a statement like that tells me volumes about the guy. It's what you call projecting. But to him, it makes a lot of sense to read something like that, because obviously it's a script written for him. So as he reads it, he's just like, I would just rattle off because he's reading it. Nobody could come up with that on the fly. Surely not. I certainly couldn't. I'd have to listen to that 3 times, write it down a bit at a time before I could get that down word for word. I'm going to give him another chance just to listen to him waffle that last little line one more time.
Idiotic videos with action movie soundtracks that contradict middle school level science.
Okay, so there it is. There's that little jab. That contradict middle level school science. So it's automatically, again, implying into the minds of people who never looked into flat Earth before watching this for the first time, is that flat Earthers don't even reach middle school level science level. They are so stupid they don't even get there, because this is the implanted thing. It goes in so fast and subliminally, you almost missed it. I'm just going to listen to it one more time because, bugger it, it's my video, I'm doing it. A little bit further, touch more, come on, you can do it. That's too fast.
Does nothing else but the sun behave that way? Show me a projectile or a plane going below the horizon as it recedes. Or show me...
That's the one I missed, right. I actually did want to address that because I did see this once before. Is show it disappearing. Well, you won't, because the way that perspective works is that the higher the parallel line, the more steep it appears to reach the convergence point. So if you can't see my hand here, I'm going to make the screen bigger again just for the heck of it while I'm ranting. The higher something is above eye level, the steeper and steeper and steeper the parallel line will appear to converge down. So when it's just a plane, the highest they're going to be flying is 5 or 6 miles. They're more than likely going to disappear due to angular view before they reach the horizon because they're so tiny. But because the sun is so big and so high, it's following a completely different parallel line of convergence. As you can see, when you're looking to the distance down a brick wall, the cornice is the steepest line, and each line gets more and more and more horizontal as it reaches the eye, and then from underneath they all ramp up. So outside, in reality, we're going to see it ramp up to eye level at the convergence point. The higher something is, like the sun, when it finally gets so far away through all that atmosphere that you can see it, and the atmosphere is giving it its size, not itself, it will appear to be going straight down until it disappears beneath the horizon. That's exactly as you would expect in perspective if you understood how perspective works. To think that it's a spinning space ball, that in itself would change the angular speed, because as it's directly overhead, you'd see the slowest amount of motion because each hour would be a bigger and bigger portion. But as it gets lower and lower, it should speed up dramatically, rising and setting as a result of the number of degrees away from you it is. It's another one I've never even thought of before.
This dome and explain the phenomena with more than buzzwords. Do something to explain a sunset. Do anything besides making idiotic videos with action movie soundtracks that contradict middle school level science.
That's actually what globe earthers do. Have you ever heard of flat Earth? All this stuff is cartoons and middle school science crap.
Number 7. What the hell is a lunar eclipse to you? Seriously, explain anything about a lunar eclipse. The things you say about solar eclipses are stupid enough, but at least you say something. A lunar...
What? See there again is presupposed the argument, oh, at least we say something sensible about solar eclipses. They gloss over that. No, man. We've been predicting eclipses on a stationary plane of Earth for thousands of years. And it might make us look dumb and archaic, but that's exactly the globe's argument for how long they've known it's a globe. It's something we've been, the Antikythera theory device. If anybody hasn't watched it yet, thoroughly recommend it. Watch The Mechanical Realm. Vika sorry, Vika, get your name wrong now, but recommend it. You got to watch it. It's sort of inspires the potential that we might ourselves be living in an actually mechanical realm, that something is actually manufactured on a grander scale, and we are somehow like a Truman Show experiment in a sense. It's kind of does your head in a little bit when you think about it, because I don't think we'd be getting things like the Mandela effect if it wasn't some sort of simulation, put it that way. Not that I believe it is, but I'm bloody angry about it.
Lunar eclipse happens when the Earth gets between the sun and the moon. That's right, in between. These two objects are not perpetually above a flat plane, and you know it, which is why you're totally silent on lunar eclipses. And if you're...
No, dude, no. The amount of lunar eclipses I've watched where the angle of the shadow comes across the moon at such a completely unpredictable, unthinkable, just the wrong direction. It's like the first time I watched one, I really fully expected, okay, so the sun's going beneath this and watching the moon rise in the east. I should see the shadow start wafting up from the bottom as it covers the moon. Or, who knows? But it just blew my mind when instead the freaking shadow came from the top left-hand side and crossed across the moon. You know, I was a full-on heliocentrist back then, and it freaking did my head in. What the hell? How does that happen? And so I do have a picture here. I'm gonna see if I can present a picture now. I want to present slides. Let's see if I can do this. I have no slides. Right, yeah. What if I just said video file to go and do it? It actually has to be a video to share a video. Can't share a picture. Screenshots, save pictures. No. Oh well. I was hoping maybe to show. No, you can't do it this way. Anyway, it's just a Selenelian eclipse as well, which is part and parcel of his argument. The Selenelian eclipse, what they call an impossible eclipse, because you're seeing the sun and the moon at the same time, but the shadow is on the top side of the moon and going the opposite direction than could possible, even if it was refraction of Earth's shadow being shone up on it. They go in the wrong direction. The moon is rising, the sun is setting, and yet the shadow is getting bigger and bigger, or whatever it is. It's the complete opposite of expectations. You should not be able to see it like that. Damn, it's a shame. I even put that picture in there. Like, good at this stuff there.
Going to propose that some other object besides the Earth is what obscures the moon. Good luck trying to demonstrate its existence.
Good luck trying to demonstrate its existence. Well, there is a couple of ancient mythologies. One comes from the West and one from the East. The Eastern one a lot of people are familiar with, where there's some sort of demonic being called Rahu, who Vishnu slays with a sword and cuts his head off, but the head cannot die for whatever reason. And so it wanders around, and every once in a while it devours the moon. And then because it's been cut off, the moon comes back out the other side again. That's their story for how we get a lunar eclipse. And the Western cosmology says we have a first wife of Adam, who's called Lilith. And obviously, every once in a while, Lilith gets extremely jealous when she sees the new moon, or the full moon, Diana or Luna, whatever, shining so brightly between the sun. She gets so angry and jealous that she comes in between them and blocks the light of the sun from seeing it. And it's described as some sort of dark moon entity. So both of them have origins that not necessarily scientific, but there are an explanation which fits cosmology. And since everything from cosmology is based on observations, you can't help but think there may be something in some of them to sort of suggest something you could deduce scientifically from it.
Number 8, speaking of the sun and moon being small and close to the Earth, what is stopping you from strapping a camera to a weather balloon and sending it up there?
Yes, what is stopping us? Okay. So obviously, our balloons don't go that high. We've tried. We do it quite frequently. We found about the maximum that a helium balloon can reach with a payload of some sort of camera is about 128,000 feet. Perhaps some of these big stadium-sized ones that NASA has are able to go up even higher, but it would also depend on their payload because of the whole density buoyancy equation. The moon, being diametrically repelled from the Earth, I shouldn't go into that, but the moon sitting at the height of the firmament, and I believe it is actually floating beneath the sea of superfluid helium, and that's what delays it a bit because there's a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of friction in there. There's 50 minutes a day worth of friction because it's floating around like a buoy, and so we're only looking up at the bottom side of it at all times. The density of the things we can send to that height won't allow us to get to that height, whereas whatever the moon is made out of and what it's filled with is so diametrically opposed that even the oceans themselves are pushing against it to keep it up there. And the repellent force from the moon pushing back on the ocean is what causes the tides. It pushes them out. It repels them. You can't pull water, dude. You can repel water easily. So the same force that keeps the moon aloft pushes the tides ahead. So you watch tomorrow evening, summer solstice. No, it's not going to be a full moon until later in the month. Oh, I can't quite see. Can't be too far away. When the full moon happens, just after the solstice, you walk across the Singing Bridge between Hawk's Nest and Tea Gardens, because the Mile River has an hour's delay from the high tide, so that gives an extra hour of the water to push up. And when you walk to Tea Gardens pub, you will find that the road is slightly underwater because of the king tide, because the greatest high tide does occur at the full moon, just after the summer solstice. I don't even know how I got on that, but it's because of the fact, because that's when the moon is rising. The moon is rising at sunset. And so as it comes up, as you're watching this glorious big moon, you'll see the massivest tide. And so you'll associate the tide with the moon, of course, but it's 6 hours until the moon is going to be overhead. And that's when you've actually got the biggest low of the season. So the moon is pushing the water away. It's a repellent force. It's not a pulling force. I just had to get that off my chest because that's how the tides work.
Go get up close and personal with either of these objects and take some pictures. If you get crafty with some robotics, which is a stretch given your complete lack of education, you
constant derogatory remarks, constant smarmy. As we just explained, we simply can't get up that high. And as I was almost getting to the point of saying, is if we could create something powerful enough to be diamagnetically repelled from the Earth, as strong as the moon is, then by the time we got there, we'd never come back again. Because it's a one-way ticket. To have that energy can only go one way. The reason everything of physicality exists on the Earth is the opposite. It's because we are, even though we have diamagnetic aspects to our existence, to our physicality, we are still physical. And our density above the gradient of air and everything else keeps us on the ground. So to lose that physicality, there is a chance maybe you could unstrap a harness once you got to the moon, had enough oxygen or whatever. There's a chance if you got there, you might be able to drop back down, but that would be the world record. Take that, Felix Baumgartner, take that. And while we're on the subject of Felix Baumgartner, why the hell did he land 75 miles to the east? The globers will constantly say that the whole reason the Earth appears to be still for the sake of everything that flies and hovers in the air and all the rest is because the atmosphere moved with the Earth. Then if the atmosphere moved with the Earth and you moved above the atmosphere, then you would stop moving with the atmosphere and you would land thousands of miles to the west 3 hours later. Don't even think about that, flat earther. Just use your inertia. Take your inertia with you and fall back down like you went in a huge parabola, totally repelled thousands of miles an hour with the orbiting, spinning spaceball the whole time, you idiot.
You could even scoop up a little sample. Maybe the moon is made of cheese after all. Can't you get even halfway there such that the sizes change? Reach for the sky, fellas.
No wonder this guy makes me angry. Huh.
Number 9. Take some flights. Any direct flight in the southern hemisphere.
Any direct flight in the southern hemisphere and put a giant curved arrow over it. What the fuck? Surely, at the very least, you'd put a straight line. Surely, misrepresent us as much as you like, but at least don't misrepresent us so blatantly dishonest. Straight lines, man, that's how we fly. Everything flies A to B, the shortest route possible. You never go, let's just follow the compass around an extra 3,000 miles of curve to get to South Africa. Yeah.
Whoops, shouldn't that be impossible? Better yet, fly between two cities 2 different ways. The shortest way on the globe and the shortest way on the flat Earth.
And which is we've done. There's hundreds, dozens and dozens of emergency flights that have done this for us. I don't have to discuss this. It's been done plenty of times by plenty of others. I can't be an expert in everything, and that's why I thank God for all these other people doing their content, shout out to Flat Earth Banjo again, as always, because he's got the best flight route maps and everything, all showing exactly why when people do emergency landings, they will land in somewhere so peculiar because it's on that straight line, as opposed to the one that would make far more sense on the globe. Very simple.
Which one do you think will be faster? I'm just joking. I know that none of you will ever be employed long enough to afford a private jet.
None of us will ever be employed long enough to afford a private. I don't think anybody who's ever been employed by anybody can afford a private jet, dude. How condescending does that get? Geez, your masters are way up there. They're so detached from reality. Nobody ever employed by anybody is ever going to be able to afford a private jet. If you want to afford a private jet, you start your own company. You're the CEO. You're the boss. You make the shots. You create multiple companies. You have multiple income streams. Then you might afford a private jet. Fuck's sake. Nobody ever working for anybody's going to do it. But again, that also shows his lack of understanding of the way of the real world, because he can't even get a job. He has to work in gay bars playing music, apparently.
But next time you're on a regular plane, notice that flights going east or west are not constantly turning slightly to one side, as you
not slightly turning constantly to one side. By the time you actually traveled a real distance between one point and another point at that scale, dude, it would be a damn straight line. This is how dishonest they have to get to show this plane that's how wide is that compared to the continent of America? 4,000 miles long plane turning so suddenly to go east or west. That's the dishonesty of a glider.
Seem to believe they all must be. Yeah, you would notice that. If humanity is unfortunate enough that you've actually procreated, send your kid up to the cockpit to meet the pilot and snap a pic of the wheel.
Okay, that one leaves me breathless. If you're already unfortunate enough to procreate, send your children to the cockpit and they're going to see a wheel. Wheelie. That's a wheel. They're even showing them holding handlebars, man. There's no wheel. It's not I have to play that quote one. I wish I'd written that one down beforehand.
Believe they all must be. Yeah, you would notice that. If humanity is unfortunate enough that you've actually procreated.
If humanity is actually unfortunate enough that you've already procreated. In other words, don't breed, you moron.
Send your kid up to the cockpit to meet the pilot and
send your kid up to the cockpit to meet the pilot. Brainwashing. I could go there, but I won't.
Snap a pic of the wheel. What do you know?
Snap a pic of the wheel. He actually said that. Snap. So, okay. Fortunately, he's never procreated. He doesn't know a thing about kids. He knows nothing about planes. He knows nothing about the wheel. And he shows a cartoon image of square-faced Bob there, holding the joystick rudder thingy and toss it a wheel.
No, straight as an arrow.
Straight as an arrow.
And number 10, do anything legitimately scientific at all. Publish anything whatsoever about your model in.
Okay, that's a fair call. I know a lot of people can't accept science until it's been published and peer-reviewed and spread around amongst everybody, and you have to be accepted by the majority for your science to be original. Even though people like Gandhi actually have said things like to be a minority of one doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong. So you don't have to conform to society's standards to still be correct. I've even taken that a step further myself and said that even if nobody believes it, the truth will still remain the truth. So even if none of us have a clue what it is, it will still be whatever it is. And we could all be wrong in every sense of it. And nobody's going to be any the wiser. The best we can do is argue for the most correct understanding of reality. That's all I can say. Yeah.
anything reputable anywhere. Invent any technology based on your model.
So, okay, we've got things like the ancient Antikythera device, which is considered to be well over 1,000 years old, possibly 2 or more 1,000 years old. They don't really know. Once everything's more than 100 years at the bottom of the ocean, the odds of being able to date it successfully, especially made out of metals and so on, is very minimal. You wouldn't know. Like, it depends on how well it got buried or how little it got buried. There's all sorts of variables that could tell us exactly how old the Antikythera device is, but that's something that is based on that model. But for all intents and purposes, why the fuck should we, man? We just want products that work here on the earth we live upon. Why should we be building anything based on an understanding of what we're living on, other than just using normal physics and engineering and mechanics and computer stuff and making things that function for us? Like, it's a dumb thing to even ask in the first place. But the astrolabe has been done, dude.
Anything at all that could be considered actual empirical science. Here's a hint. You may have to study some real science to do it, but then if
you may have to study some real science to do it. The fuck, man? If you're studying, that is science. That is it. I struggle to understand how anybody can say something like real science. Our science is the real science. Your science is for fools, for buffoons. That's not real. Real science comes from this institution with this master and this librarian, and we are the keepers of the knowledge. What the fuck, man? Everybody who questions anything, from the little child asking, why, mommy, why, to us here asking the questions we ask, we're doing science, man. That is how it is done. Question everything. Ask and you shall receive. Far out.
Of course, you would immediately learn that the Earth isn't flat, so it probably won't be of much use.
But we know it's not flat. If it was flat, it would be like water. It'd be like ice. That's what's flat. The Earth is actually the topographical, geographical stuff that we live on above it. So, yeah, quite correct. It's not flat. It's just above water level.
So that's it for the 10 challenges.
Thanks.
I use the word challenge facetiously, since all of you will immediately recognize the futility and resort instead to calling me names in the comments section.
I'll definitely call you names, but I went through one by one and swept each and every one under the carpet. Met your challenge. We've got flat earth explanations for things. So that was a huge fail. And I'm going to do this because what it said.
You flat earth priests with your waste of space channels know full well that doing anything even remotely empirical demolishes your hoax, which is
that doing anything even remotely empirical demolishes your hoax. That's what he said. So he put up this challenge, and I thought, well, so he made this, what did I work out? 3 years ago. Hang on. 3, maybe 4. Well, the video I made 5 years ago.
Is why you stick to shouting conspiracy and very little else. And you handful of mindless followers hanging on to the only thing that makes you feel special. Maybe 2020 is the year you finally get a clue.
2020. So it was 3 years ago. I stand corrected. I'm going to put myself in some good hands here. These good hands. And pour out another little shot of tincture because I'm getting ready for it. And in 1 second, I'm going to re-listen to this twattling on.
And move on with your lives. There's a whole spherical world out there, a world filled with people who won't instantly mock you or be ashamed to know you. There are so many opportunities to actually be a person of even minor consequence. I know I've been hard on you, but I really am rooting for you folks. All you have to do is disengage from these charlatans that lie for a living. Save that.
What? Oh, disengage from people like you? It's a brilliant idea. Let's have a drink to it. Salute. Gonna burn the worms out of my system. It's good stuff.
That $10 super chat and buy yourself some dignity, or even put it in a college fund so you can go to school and learn something useful.
$10. He knows all about $10 college, doesn't he? Learn something useful. Look at him, drop out musician who spends all his time in that little room, that exact same room, that exact same poster, that exact same keyboard cover.
The choice is yours. Good luck and good night.
I'm gonna definitely take that back just for the last minute or so to listen to that rant. Just for the
world
fun
out
of it.
there, a world filled with people who won't instantly immediately recognize the futility and resort to the model.
Little bit.
Do anything at all that could be considered actual empirical science. Here's a hint. You may have to study some real science to do it, but then of course you would immediately learn that the Earth isn't flat, so it probably won't be of much use. So that's it for the 10 challenges. I use the word challenge facetiously since all of you will immediately recognize the futility and resort.
All right, yep. So, Radio Dave, you've waffled off your stupid fat mouth for so long now. I'm so glad I was able to stop it as often as I could just to address each and every point. And what I want to do now is have a quick look at the chat. Sorry, guys, been ignoring you, but I've been having fun talking to him. In Saskatchewan, we have Los Angeles planes to Europe going northeast over us to Greenland. I'll put a string on my globe and it should stay on the Saskatchewan, USA border. Interesting. Goes to Greenland. Huh. I've seen the airplane movie, but I'm interested. Alan's confused. Wheels only work on a 2D plane, I agree. How would you go up and down? There is no up and down in space, man. You just have to accept that. It's just in and out all day long. In Australia, in an elevator, you have to press the down arrow to go up. I'd actually believe that if it wasn't true. We're going to we lie. See, lightly. Fine. Also, check your radar. You have to jump in a ute and see how far away you are. You see lightning bolts. Billy Zig might see bolts from Melbourne, 800 miles. It's possible to see. Oh, I don't know about that. It's fully raining here now, fully overcast. It's really nice, actually. I'm quite glad. I don't feel so guilty about taking more than 5 minutes in the shower now. So, yeah, I felt like he put a challenge out for somebody to present something, and what I had done is I shared a video which I'd made 5 years ago. Can't be that long, surely. It's when I'd lost my license. This one here. I'll just pause it when it gets there because that was my YouTube icon for so long. I should change it back. Anyway, I made this video when I lost my license for 6 months. They took it off me because I tried to go to work when I was still a little bit hung under from the night before, and they detected the amounts of alcohol in my breath. Believe it or not, unbelievable. But sure enough, so lost my license, lost my job, and all that sort of shit. So while I did a TAFE course, I learned how to do some editing, but I already forgot how to do it because I don't have Photoshop. If I had Photoshop, it's probably not that expensive. I should try and get it. Anyway, so I made this during the course, and I've always intended to make this into a speak over video. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let it play for a second, and then I'm going to come back and start again because, you know, nature. Still can't get it. Yeah, right, dude. Oh, sweet. That one? There we go. I'll just let it play. You can watch it for a sec. I'll be right back. Yeah, I'm back. So what I want to do is have a discussion about this, and that is Cape Byron. I'm going to go right back to the start. Get another look at my after body bash face. Now, I want to stop it there. That there is Julian Rocks, and I will pronounce it incorrectly because I am a white man. I don't know exactly the correct way to pronounce it, but I think it's pronounced Nguthungulli, or it's spelled Nguthungulli. I'll write that in the comments, and it's in the title actually. Nguthungulli. I'm really not. Hang on, that's not ooh. That's already mixed up. Nguthungulli. Nguthungulli is how I'd pronounce it if I didn't know any better. But it's Nguthungulli, and it means the basically the resting place of the grandfather of creation. And I did not know this at the time at all. This was just, to me, it was Julian Rocks. So this is one picture I presented, so where you can see quite clearly in this image that the entirety of that little rocky outcrop appears to be above the horizon. Now, this is one of my very first videos about perspective. The sun is shining. The water appears blue. It appears green where it's shallower water, and that's because the sand is yellow. And obviously, when you mix yellow and white, you get green. I'm just kidding. The sky is blue. Clouds are out there. Julian Rocks is above the horizon. Right out. I really wanted to do a narration over this video, and now I'm already stuffing up. So I wanted to keep this completely separate to another video when I later download this and separate it and upload it otherwise. Okay, so then I use fancy Photoshop effects to split the screen like that to get back up here to the top of Scaraballotti Lookout. And look how flat the horizon is. It is flat as flat as flat, all the way up the Brunswick Heads and beyond. The more you zoom in, the flatter it looks, the more the sun reflects off the water. It's flat, 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 and flat, flat, and flat. So there it is, Julian Rocks. Well, there we go. We just went a little bit past it. Let's go back a tiny wee fraction. Oh, no, we have to look through all that flat again. Flat me dead. It's all right. I'll pause it when we get there this time. Right about there. See that there in the middle of the screen? That's Julian Rocks. So that give you an indication of how high I am at Garibaldi Lookout on the way towards Mullumbimby, just north of Cape Byron, which is that there. That there is Cape Byron. You can see the little lighthouse just touching the horizon in the middle, at the highest point, almost the second highest point. The other highest point actually looks a bit like a little pyramid in its own right when you live there. But from here, it looks like a bit like a sleepy dragon or something. That's Cape Byron. That's Wadigo's, the pass. Oh, you can't see my mouse, unfortunately. Where I'm pointing with my mouse, I'm pointing to the point. So the far left spot of the headland, that's Wadigo's and famous surfing spot. That's where I spent many years of my life, in this area. So that's why I took video while I'm living there. And if you look south, you keep looking south, it's still flat. That's well over 200 and something degrees. Like when you're at Cape Byron, you can see well past 180 degrees left to right. So it's a huge vista of the easternmost part of the Australian mainland. And there's Julian Rocks. Right here. I just want to make it clear, this is about Julian Rocks, easternmost part, Australian mainland, which is that, Cape Byron. Cool. Glad we all got that sorted. Catch you later, Alan. Have a good one, bro. Oh, I just saw that too, Aussie Gold. Bloody oath, mate. I always wanted to climb Uluru. That was always on my bucket list. Absolutely. I still think I would do it. But, you know, out of respect, I might just have to paraglide onto it instead and take off again. You never know. See, there's Julian Rocks. So this is a view from the easternmost part, Australian mainland, looking the other direction. So that first image I showed was looking from directly straight to our left, maybe slightly to the north a bit, looking down from high above. Now we're at Cape Byron here, and Cape Byron is known to be about, at this point, I think about 80 something meters above sea level. So you're looking down, so that's why you can see all of the other places further in the distance beyond it on the horizon, because the Earth is flat, obviously. Did airs in 80, lucky bastard. So yeah, I had some video there and it just cut out. I don't know why. I was also doing this, as I said, as a TAFE course, as part of the way of paying off my fine for getting done being an alcoholic drink driver, trying to earn a living. How dare me? Oh, God, that tastes good. Is I was also just putting in random images that I had on my phone just to make a video, just for practice how to edit videos and stuff. So right there in the center above the horizon, that is also Julian Rocks. So this gives you some perspective from sea level, just how far away it is. And Googling it this afternoon, I found out that Nguthungulli, or Nguthungulli, is, one says it's 2.5 kilometers from the Cape, which I guess be for the skin divers who take, or the scuba divers, so take off from the pass area. That's where the boat ramp is. Where they head through to Julian Rocks is 2.5 kilometers, but the rest of everything says it's 3.25 kilometers from the coast. So this should give you an idea of perspective. When you're standing at sea level, the horizon here is clearly 3.25 kilometers, because all of Nguthungulli, Julian Rocks, seems to be above the horizon, but you can't tell because, what distance perspective makes things far away look small. So you've got the combination of things. Everything gets smaller, everything gets hidden by more haze, everything converges, and something only 3.25 kilometers away appears tiny and above the horizon from the beach here. And these are all pictures I took myself in this entire video. I must stress. That's why they're so unprofessional. So this is taken from the Longueuil Creek mouth, roughly, because I remember that guy out there on his Malibu. He's not sitting very far out at all. It's a tiny little shore dump. There was virtually no swell that day, so forget about thinking those waves look big. They're tiny. It's a tiny, tiny little shore dump. The guy's sitting out there waiting for maybe a 1 foot little swell to come through and break on the shallow, low tide sandbar. And there is the entirety of Julian Rocks, slightly coming into focus with a ×3 magnification, I remember correctly with that bird. That's the size of it, sitting above the horizon from sea level. That's taken full 8 times magnification. I didn't crop those photos. So now I'm at the Cape later that very same day. All of these pictures were taken on the same day, except for some, but otherwise they were all, you know what I mean? They were taken within a couple of weeks, except the ones that were taken on the same day, which this was. That's why we've got the same clouds, we've got the same Julian Rocks. There's Julian Rocks. Oh, look at it. It's not on the edge of the horizon with miles and miles and miles of curvature suddenly dropping away beyond it. Let's pan back again. I'm sure I do. Look how flat the water is past the thing that was previously sitting just like that on top of the horizon when viewing Cape Byron like that. And then when you get on top of Cape Byron where the lighthouse is in that vicinity, that's when I took the next amount of footage. Gee, I wish I could have done a voiceover on this a long time ago. That's another view from up the beach. And that place, oh, I just missed it. That place there did say Belongul Beach or Tyagra Beach, where it is now permitted for clothes-free swimming and exposing your skin to the sun. Ridiculous that we have to go to such a remote place where, unfortunately, I don't go there anymore, because back when you could do it down in the correct place, that's where it's meant to be done. But life goes on. Julian Rocks. Me looking at Julian Rocks. Me looking at the camera like an idiot. Me back up at Cape Byron again, now filming out to sea beyond Julian Rocks. Look how much curvature there isn't. Miles upon miles and miles and miles and miles of flat and level water. When what did we see from the ocean? Is that all of Julian Rocks stood above the horizon. This here is like a compass set into the easternmost point of the mainland. So it points east. That there is as far east on the Australian mainland that you can legally stand. You can actually go down on the rocks and walk around the headland a bit and be somewhat further east. But that's just showing the directions. That is due east from that point. Again, anybody who understands directions, this should be a huge clue as to how can north be there, but when you're in New Zealand, north is different. When you're in South America, north is different. When you're in South Africa, north is different. It's all pointing towards the center. But here in the east, this is our easternmost point, and this is at sunset. Beautiful moment. And if you really zoom in, I can't quite see it there. You'll see it a little bit later. Oh, that's right. Now we've got to look north. That's looking north towards Queensland, straight towards Julian Rocks, Brunswick Heads, Tweed Heads, you name it, all the different headlands leading all the way up to the border of Queensland, all visible in the right conditions. Head going west, you can't quite see. That was previously, for whatever reason, the thumbnail of this video. Now, back up on the headland and we're just looking as far south as we can and panning towards the north. But what have we seen? We've detected something way, way, way out on the horizon with a massive 8x zoom. Massive 8x. You can just make out a ship. It's flat all the way to it. It's above the horizon. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Another view from the main beach car park looking at the Cape. Again, looking at the Cape. There's the lighthouse. There's on the way up to the Cape as you're walking up past Watergoes Beach, looking back towards Byron. That's the view you'll see. Before I took the final video, we're getting higher, we're getting higher. There we go. Julian Rocks comes into view. It's completely surrounded by flat and level water all the way. So this is empirical evidence that a flat earther has done to prove that it's flat. As Professor Dave so seriously demanded. Oh, yeah, take it back just a fraction from that. That one there. Look how flat it is to the left and the right. And yet, when you're viewing it from the beach, you are looking at it from way over here on the left. The mouse, of course, isn't showing. I wish it did. I'll find a way to do that one of these days. But so far to the left, if you follow the horizontal line from Julian Rocks to your left, that's the beach where I've spent years and years and years of observations looking at Julian Rocks sitting entirely above the horizon. So now when you look to the right of it, all that stuff should be beneath the curve. And yet it's flat, 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 and flat. And maybe even flatter. There it is. That's the one that gives a bit of better example, but obviously it's zoomed in even more, so of course it's more flat. Walking up to the lighthouse now, so this is now 96 meters above sea level. Looking to the east to watch the, looking to the west to watch the sunset. Pardon me. I had a frog in my throat. I said east, somebody take me out back and shoot me. That's north. That's north, as we demonstrated with the compass on the ground before. And so then now turning 90 degrees further is looking east. About there. So, and then there's that ship still out there. I should have spent more time zooming in on that ship, but I don't have a Nikon P900. I've only got what I got. There's the lighthouse, the famous Cape Byron lighthouse. The whale. People just saw a whale jump out of the water. I just missed it. Doesn't matter. It's only a humpback whale. There's plenty of them. So, you know, just chilling, taking your time, looking how flat the horizon is. Flat as flat. You can see into infinity from out there. Unbelievable. It's where the sun comes into view every morning. Yeah, all the way back to the north, then to the east, to the south, because that's where I was. It's north of the lighthouse. Go for a walk around the lighthouse, why not? This is just a leisurely tourist video now, where I actually do video instead of still images of Julian Rocks, the go-to place to prove the Earth is flat. This is the easternmost point, Australian mainland. Still zoom out and see that tiny little speck of ship sitting above the horizon. Where's the curvature? There is none. Let's call it co-refraction from now on. Look how long my shadow is getting, and yet no shadow of the Earth and the sky. It looks like a dark line out there, but it should be moving quite quickly. Venus's belt needs tightening quickly. It's not. There's that ship. Those ships are huge. If you see them from, if they're parked at the port, you can drive past the port. They're like more than 2 city blocks long. They're massive. That right there, just for a little bit of nostalgia. Not only did I propose to the woman I ended up marrying, just down there at the easternmost point, but we got married right there to the left of that knobby thing, because the wind was howling from the north. It didn't want it to be recorded well, but yeah, I actually got married there, and that's why I've got 3 kids. Anyway, moving on. nostalgia is all well and good. The big lighthouse choir playing. And then we pan back around and have another look at Julian Rocks. Come on. Got to go have another look at Julian Rocks. We'll get there eventually. Look how flat that horizon is. It is so flat, you can still see a ship sitting above it when you zoom in at daytime zoom. Oh, that's it. Rightio. Well, that's that one. And I do have one more. This one might get me a copyright strike, so nobody report me. I'll fucking smack you in the chops. No, not that one. Cancel. Oh, no, don't cancel. Just find another one. Present. Video file. It was ABC something. And it's showing. It's somewhere else. This isn't good. Okay. I definitely downloaded another one just to show Nguthungulli for what it is. Or Nguthungulli. Nguthungulli. Could say it correctly. Nguthungulli. Oh, thanks, Sea Lightning. Great photography. I should have stayed on the sun for longer too. Sunset straight west and what month of the year? Yeah, I wouldn't know. I would think if one pissing down rain, I could actually get to the Cape by sunset at 6:33 p.m. already. No, I won't make it. But I'd get there pretty close. Damn it, where's that other one I downloaded? Oh, it would be that one. I'll try it. No, I downloaded the same thing twice, bloody idiot. What I can do is, hook door and find that one and copy the link again and put the proper link in. Next, that's what I want. And let's get link. Sorry about that. Download. This is what I was hoping I prepared earlier, but such a good one. So it's called Nguthungulli, the creator rests in the ocean, this place. I might just have to turn the sound down occasionally to rightio. Now I should be able to do it. Where is view again? There it is. Stage. There. That one. Rightio. Cool. I absolutely did not steal it or use it for monetary purposes because, as everybody knows, my channel is not monetized. But what a convenient spot to suddenly pause that. When everybody's so used to seeing images of Australia looking more or less rectangular shape with the weird bits and bumps taken out of it. When you look at it like this, holy shit, it's stretched out way, way, way across the screen, and yet it doesn't even reach the top of the screen at all before you can see half the rest of the world, all of Asia and stuff. It almost suggests Australia isn't really the shape we've been told, and this being an official and Australian documentary. Let me just get my stupid cut out of the way. abc.net.au, this place. Filmed on Arakwal country, which is the easternmost point outside of the screen there to your right. Wow, it's quite interesting that they should stretch out Australia so much like that to Maybe, just maybe, I don't know, tell us that is the actual shape of Australia. Anyway, thanks to the ABC of Australia and taxpayer dollars, that was that video. And I've got no more videos to show. So that's pretty well the end of this show. And I'm just warming up. Just kidding. I'm going to call it a day. So thanks to Aussie Gold who lost headphones just as he was finishing up at the gym. Oh, yeah, of course you go to the gym, mate. Yeah. Same, man. When I was at the gym the other day, oh, God, I lost the whole... you don't want to know. Just every time I go to the gym, man, geez. I take my coffee, latte, whatever you call it. For sure, mate, no worries. Oh, my headphones. Yep, don't forget my headphones or my gym bag. I can't forget my gym bag. Heading to your little sister's birthday. All right, wish a happy birthday for me, Aussie Gold. All the best to her. And yeah, and you have a good one. I'm actually quite annoyed and upset that this freaking Dave Wanker doesn't have something challenging. I wonder, is it possible? God, I wouldn't even know how to do it. I wonder if it's possible to find one that's present. Just says extra camera video file or share screen. I don't want to share screen. There's so many tabs open, man. It's like embarrassing. But I'd have to find it in the first place, wouldn't I? That's not going to help. Oh, look, I've got a live stream going on my channel. That's mad. That's like looking inside a rabbit hole. I'm going to see what happens if I open it up. Fucking hell. There's now playing. No. I shouldn't have done that. Shit. Escape. What have I done? No. Right, yeah. I don't know what happened there, but I'll find out tomorrow. I really feel like doing another debunking of that Cracker Wanker Dave. Maybe if I try that, it might work better. And look up. Now, what's the other one? Top 10. That won't work. I'm terrible at this. So that was the 10 challenges for Flat Earth. So this is the one that 10 things that Flat Earthers all say. Right, yeah. But that's the one. Hang on a sec. So is that also the 10 challenges? It is. It's the same fucking video. For shit's sake. Okay, well, how's this going to work for me? You've got 2 videos with 10 things that all Flat Earthers say and 10 challenges for Flat Earthers are both exactly the same video. That's really fucked, man. Like, that's fucking 6. Destroying Flat Earth without using science, the moon. Let's have a look at this one. So what I have to do is quickly just copy it, whack it into a download thingamajiggy, and just cancel that. continue and go, right, paste, bloody download, bloody get link, bloody converting, bloody download, bloody destroying flat earth without using science part 1 of the moon, save, bloody, and hopefully, bloody, I can go back here and share screen and go, oh, I don't want to see tips, fuck that, just present video file. Destroying flat earth without using science. Rightio, here we go. From the top.
You may remember the 10 challenges I offered to flat earthers a couple of months ago, and it's been very...
Is that exactly the same background as your voice? Oh, no, you got no pictures on the wall. Rightio, so we've traveled back in time. This is pre-pictures on the wall time.
Amusing watching them run around like chickens with their heads cut off, making pathetic response videos where they puff up their chests and bark at each other for hours without actually responding to any of the challenges. Memorizing the names of logical fallacies and shouting them at random sure seems like a lot of fun, but it's not a working map or...
Why do they keep using this image? It's like projecting again.
Or a model that shows the seasons with night and day, or a legitimate response to anything whatsoever. So
this is obviously, because we are in the year 2023, of course, you have to assume that a lot of this stuff is actually worked out by professionals to create an image to leave subliminal messages inside your mind that you wouldn't ordinarily notice. You know, what have we got? This cowardly yellow shirt, or what is it, mustard yellow. He's got the big nose with the red tip, got blush cheeks, got dark, pointy, tiny little eyes. He's got weird eyebrows. His hair is going all crazy, like, hands up in the air, raging. Got nothing. Yeah, if you understand human psychology, it's not that hard to break down an image like that and see that it's not just a simple little cartoon image that your mind glosses over 99.1000% of the time. Your mind quickly glosses over that sort of image, but deep inside, this has created a subliminal of a very angry, aggressive, raging person. So this isn't here by accident. I can guarantee you that.
At this point, I think it's safe to say that they've thrown in the towel. Of course, there is no need to follow up after such an annihilation, and I did not intend to, but now I find myself quarantined because of the coronavirus.
See how quickly you jump from one thing to another there. He's talking about how quickly cowardly we were and throwing in the towel, and now that he's the unfortunate victim of being suppressed due to coronavirus, now he has the excuse to make this bit of diatribe and somehow ejaculate the weird comings of his mind all over the screen.
With no access to YouTube Studios and no way to make my regular content. So, you lucky little flurf balls, I'm back for more. Here's what's gonna happen now. Since my 10 challenges made your heads explode, and none of you have the mental capacity to make a map or a model, even at a middle school level, I figured I would dumb it down for you even more. It's very easy to think of things that single-handedly obliterate the flat earth delusion, like, say, the existence of gravity. But you...
Oh, what? What do you mean? Why can't you have gravity on the flat earth? Tell me exactly. That's what I'd like to know. Like, I'm not raging here. This is why I guess I get frustrated when I look at your pathetic little cartoon videos. Is you're showing us as though we're raging, and it's like, no, dude, we're cool, we're good. We would like to see what the fuck you were talking about, bro. How can... See, you're talking so fast, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Bruh, let's make you big again so I can fast forward you back a little bit. I think they called that rewind, actually. That's the
easy to think of things that single-handedly obliterate the flat earth delusion, like, say, the existence of gravity. But you're so...
The existence of gravity, things falling down, negates the flat earth. Okay, so So what you're trying to say is the flat earth can only be possible if things didn't fall down. They can only fall up. Because if they don't, earth can't be flat. Do you realize how moronic that argument is? That's actually the single most moronic argument I've ever heard, and the best use of the way you can double speak something to then say that we say things shouldn't fall down on the flat earth. Everything finds its place according to density and buoyancy, dude. Everything. So the whole earth is the base, and everything on the base is heavy, dude. And then the lighter and lighter things get, the more they will become buoyed up by the air until their own density will bring them to the ground if they're more dense than the air. That's density and buoyancy in a nutshell. Everything in motion remains in motion unless another force acts upon it. The only force that stops something from being in motion is resistance, which comes from density. Density and buoyancy kills the day when gravity is allegedly, depending on who you ask, it's an attraction of mass or it's the fabric of bent space-time. It just traps you in a big net and pulls you down. That's the fabric pulls you down. I don't know. Nobody knows, but
thoroughly science illiterate that you just shout gravity doesn't exist and pretend.
Yeah, well, that's right. An invisible force of pullity due to mass does not exist. So
pretend that this is not a stupid thing to say.
It's not a stupid thing to say. It doesn't exist. A 1 gram marble and a 10 kilogram lead ball dropped at the same time will hit the ground at the same time. How come the bigger mass isn't more attracted? It's not. Never is. Never will. Never has been. The attraction of mass is a stupid argument.
So instead, let's try some proofs that have nothing to do with science at all. There is no challenge. There is no prerequisite information. You just have to listen, acknowledge that the logic is airtight, and then cry yourself to sleep.
Yeah, nothing to do with science at all. Holy tincture, dude. You're questioning shit. It is science.
Are you ready? Here comes one now. What is this object? It's the moon. We've all seen the moon. We've seen it many times. Look at all of these pictures of the moon. What do they have in common?
Another picture.
They all show precisely the same features. We all see the same face of the moon. It doesn't change from night to night, and it doesn't change throughout the night. There is no denying this. You can't shout CGI. You can't cry conspiracy. It's the moon. We can all see it with our own eyeballs. It's there, and it always looks like this. Now let's place the moon above a flat disk and let it float around in the little magic circles you like to imagine. If the Earth was flat, would... And
let it float around in the little circles you like to imagine. This condescending tone is so ridiculous. It's so out of the ballpark. It's just... little? Come on, man. Our little part is our point of view that we might see above our horizon in our own personal little position of perspective. But little model, little circles, moon. It boggles the mind when the equatorial circle going around the middle of that pizza disc there is 25,000 miles. Now, anybody who's traveled at any amount of speed would know that 200 miles per hour is a fast speed. But if you were to divide 25,000 by 200, you'd realize it's not even a fifth of the speed that you must be traveling to go around the equator once. So to call this just a little model just shows how out of touch this insane internet, not a professor freak, is able to extract from places where the sun doesn't actually shine and say little model. I want to Just rewind that touch there. Let's listen.
Flat disk and let it float around in the little magic circles you like to imagine.
Little magic
If the
circles.
Earth was flat, would we all see the same face of the moon?
Well, when you put it like that and you make the moon 50,000 miles big, and it's like bigger than the whole sky that we could possibly see within our 3-mile window of opportunity, which maybe with angles might give us a couple of 100 miles, the moon would still take up the entire sky if that was even closely remote to a scale representation of what we would see. The moon is tiny. It's up as high as the firmament. It reflects the sunlight off the side that is facing the sun and pushes it down through our atmosphere. And as it does so, when it hits a certain level of our atmosphere, that's where we see a holographic plasma projection of the part of the moon that is currently lit by the sun. That's my final say on the word, and I'm not saying nothing more.
Here is someone standing in one spot looking at the moon. They see this. Here is someone standing in another spot looking at the same moon.
These guys, man, the treads of their shoes and their little ant feet would still be 100 times higher than the height of Mount Everest. Scale, man, scale. Scale is important. When you're using cartoons to brainwash people, this is what you'd do. You'd use something so ridiculously out of scale. No wonder people wouldn't believe it.
See this too, and this person, and this person. You get the idea. So is this...
These 3,000 billion mile high people who are so massive.
Possible? No, because that's not how objects work. People on the opposite sides of an object can't see the same face of the object.
But fish in a lake looking up at a flat surface and seeing a hot spot of the sun shining through the ice will see something the same size. Now, if we assume, then it's hard to do that to scale, obviously, but if we assume that the moon is virtually the same height as the sun, sitting at roughly an equidistant point away from the center, Polaris. So it's also going roughly around the equator, but a lot more elliptical. The part of it that we could ever only look up at any given time would still be so high, it'd be like a fish deep underwater looking up at a buoy. You'd only ever see the bottom side of the buoy. It didn't matter how far and how wide you went, you'd still only see the same side of the buoy. I'm sick of people actually even suggesting this about the moon, in that close is like 30, 40, 50, 100 meters. That's close. Then you would see around other sides perhaps as it moved around. By the time it's a couple of kilometers high, like an aeroplane, you're only ever going to see the bottom side. You aren't going to see around the sides, no matter how far it travels across above you. And that's only a couple of kilometers. I'm assuming the moon must be the best part of close to 100 kilometers high, possibly quite a bit less, but in the vicinity, 70 to 100 kilometers high, the actual moon. But the one we see is only 15 kilometers high, because that's what gets projected into our atmosphere, and we see the holographic plasma projection in the direct line of sight from something so high that people can't quite understand that the one that we're looking at and somebody 1,000 kilometers away, 2,000 kilometers away is looking up and seeing the same projection through a different part of the atmosphere in their line of sight towards it, seeing exactly the same moon, but in a completely different place. You can sort of understand it when you travel sometimes and you watch and you look at the moon and you see all the buildings flash by, but the moon doesn't seem to move. It moves with you. So even the person 2,000 kilometers away is seeing the same thing, is seeing the exactly same thing if you suddenly really quickly moved 2,000 kilometers and the moon went with you. That's what you're seeing. That's why we always see the same phase.
Go get two of your little buddies and have them stand on opposite sides of you. Can they both see the front of your face at once? No. A spherical moon over a flat Earth is not consistent with reality at all.
Oh,
so is it two-dimensional with the same...
Yeah. You look at somebody's face in front of you. We're talking about something that's fucking... Never mind.
Same face on both sides? Then anyone but these two people would see a different
shape.
But. So no.
Okay, you are the dumbest thing that I cannot pronounce correctly in English without saying fucker, you know, and first part being mother, that has ever existed on the internet. You dumb motherfucker. Seriously. You don't understand that absolutely very first thing about perspective, let alone scale, let alone the rest, and you think that this is how you debunk flat earth cartoons like this. Honestly, this here should go down in history as the dumbest motherfucker who's ever fucking lived, who proposes this as a debunk of what flat earth might possibly be. And as much as we don't know certain things, we know for a fact that this dumb motherfucker ain't got a fucking clue.
Is it pointing down like a spotlight? Then it would change shape as it passes by and only appear circular when directly overhead.
Dig your hole.
So no. Is there any way we can make this work on a flat Earth? No, there is not. So how, pray tell, do all people see the same face of the moon? Because Earth is a sphere and the moon goes around the Earth. It is tidally locked with the Earth, with one face always pointing towards the Earth. That's why everyone sees the same face of the moon. And
that's a convenient excuse, and you know, like, I believed it as much as anybody else in the day, but the reason how or why it might be tidally locked due to this extremely weak force of gravity, which is causing somehow two tides on two different places on opposite sides of the Earth twice a day. The reason how it could be tidally locked makes sense on the flat Earth model, where the Earth is flat, North Pole in the center, everything rotates around the vortice of the North Pole, sun and moon lags by 50 minutes per day. It's repulsive force pushing down on the ocean, what keeps it aloft, pushing away the tides, could explain it, and why we're always looking up at the bottom side is a fairly simple, rational, logical explanation, if you can believe that that's possible in the first place, which I do, because I believe that's what we see, what we observe, and that's how all the celestials work all the time, all going around Polaris, 24 hours a day, give or take their own different little fluctuations. The stars 4 minutes faster and the moon 50 minutes slower, which matches what the tides give us. And so therefore, if we're looking up at it, then the bottom side we're seeing would remain the same, constant, no matter where you were. It's so freaking high. 70 miles is really freaking high, man.
That's the only way that everyone can see the same face of the moon.
The only way it has to rotate backwards, west to east, 2,289 miles an hour, and rotate on its own axis 10 miles per hour to be tidally locked. Yeah. They've got no explanation. And even though they say gravity, they still say, well, dark matter is yeah, 76% or 95% stronger, depends on the occasion. Dark matter stops everything from being pulled into one another Now you think about it. If you're running down the road and someone shoots a little BB gun at you and they just miss, do you think that if you kept on running in a straight line, that little BB is going to keep spinning around and around you because it just missed you in the first place? It's the most absurd thing, but they say once you get out into where there's no friction and shit, that's how things start behaving. And not only does that thing go around you, but you go around another thing and the other thing keeps going around you, like the BB that missed you in the first place. That's your moon-sun equation. This is what we're told. Oh, for fuck's sakes, I did not.
Responding to any of the channel. We didn't have to do any hundreds of individual on the spherical
how far?
Earth.
There we go.
Pretty neat, huh?
We're about there.
Maybe South Pole or anywhere in between, the orientation of the face of the moon that we all see will reveal your latitude on the spherical Earth. Pretty neat, huh? Maybe when...
What? Wait, what? I didn't even get that before. What? Well, this is the first time I've seen it, but I didn't watch that. The angle of the moon will reveal your latitude on the globe? Or is he saying the flat Earth? Why would it be any different on the globe? I have to definitely watch that again.
Same face of the moon, and that's the only way that everyone can see the same face of the moon. And guess what? The direction the moon is pointing even correlates with the observer's latitude.
It even correlates with the observer's latitude. No, that would not be right. Your latitude would still be looking at the same thing.
And that's something. Whether at the North Pole, South Pole, or anywhere in between, the orientation of the face of the moon that we all see will reveal your latitude on the spherical Earth. Pretty neat, huh? Maybe one day you'll save up enough allowance that you can leave your mom's basement and see the moon from another part of the world.
Oh, save up enough money to leave my mum's basement to see the rest of it. What a condescending prick. Again, that's what he is. He's the king of condescension. He's the condescension queen. He's a killer queen.
So, my precious little learners, do you...
Not precious little learners? Or did he say precious little earners? I think he said learners, but look at him. Look at him. He's a killer.
Now see how pathetically fragile the flat Earth delusion is? Of all the hundreds of individual isolated phenomena that rip it to shreds like it was made of paper mache, some of them don't even require an ounce of scientific knowledge. They just require that you can think with your brain for 5 full seconds.
Yeah, 5 full seconds. Did anybody understand the logic of that? Basically, what he's done is taken people on a long linguistic ride through fairyland, and then denigrated all his viewers and shit, and said that nobody has more than a 5-second attention span. But at the same time, he's projecting it upon the invisible enemy. This is how propaganda works. He's projecting it onto the invisible energy, who are the flat earthers, who are the ignorant idiots, because this is who we're ridiculing in this particular example. So this Disney boy here, preaching from the pulpit, let's listen to this very carefully.
Require an ounce of scientific knowledge. They just...
An ounce of scientific knowledge, which indicates, of course, that you don't have an ounce of scientific knowledge. You are so ignorant, you don't even have an ounce of it. So that's how you wind up. So everybody now listening to this, and it's going so fast you can't even notice, everybody that's listening is now genuinely accepted. It's not them. That's why you laugh. You're laughing at the others, the victims, the idiots who believe in the flat Earth.
Require that you can think with your brain for 5 full seconds. For today's conclusive proof, we didn't have to talk about physics or astronomy or space travel. We didn't have to do any math.
There you go. Again, more of the same subliminal messaging. We didn't have to do it because we know it. We rest on these laurels. We have all this stuff. This belongs to us. We know. We don't have to use it. We don't have to use it. We don't have to use it. We don't even have to use it to debunk these idiot flat earthers. They're just like almost poetic. You know, if you can analyze the way people do propaganda, this guy is definitely a paid shill, is it? The worst and last term I'd like to use. That's a shill is actually somebody trying to promote something that they're trying to debunk. So he's shill-ish, but he's actually clearly paid, clearly scripted, clearly given these subliminal images, equations. Is by just using this subliminal suggestion, it's saying that, well, flat earthers can't do this stuff, can't do this stuff, and we can debunk them without even using this stuff. So, but they didn't use this stuff. You watch. They're not using the stuff at all. Maybe just a touch. Because he's such an annoying...
isolated phenomena that rip it to shreds like it was made of paper mache. Some of them don't even require an ounce of scientific knowledge. They just require that you can think with your brain for 5 full seconds.
So he's just said you don't even require an ounce of scientific knowledge, which is actually talking about them. They don't need any scientific knowledge. It just requires to be able to think for 5 seconds. I think it might rain, love. I mean, it might right. 5 seconds, I must be a low bar for rain debunk the flat earth. This is what he's just basically said, is you only need to be able to think for 5 seconds to debunk the flat earth. I am getting madder and madder every time I hear him speak.
For today's conclusive proof, we didn't have to talk about physics or astronomy or space travel.
For today's conclusive, patting ourselves on the back, we didn't do any science at all. Goddamn, we didn't need to debunk them damn flat earthers. Them goddamn flat earthers. I have to go back even further, goddamn it. Let's see where you're fucking using goddamn science, motherfucker.
Pretty neat, huh? Maybe one day you'll save up enough allowance that you can leave your mom's basement and see the moon from another part of the world. So, my precious little learners, do you now see how pathetically fragile the flat earth delusion is? Of all the hundreds of individual isolated phenomena that rip it to shreds like it was made of paper mache, some of them don't even require an ounce of scientific knowledge. They just require that you can think with your brain for 5 full seconds.
Do you know actually set bones with paper mache, mate? Yeah, if you got a broken bone and you got no plaster of Paris, it actually is paper mache. And in fact, I think plaster of Paris is basically paper mache, only it's with cloth bandage. Fuck's sake. You can't really rip it to shreds. It helps you set bones, motherfucker. I've heard some of the most stupid things I've ever heard.
For today's conclusive proof, we didn't have to talk about physics or astronomy or space travel. We
didn't have to use any science, goddamn, whatsoever.
We didn't have to do any math. There were no equations for you to misunderstand or numbers for you to lie about. We just did a little bit of critical thinking. So now you can see how people figured out that the Earth is round thousands of years ago.
I didn't actually see that. How far back do I have to rewind to see how we knew that people knew this thousands of years ago? For fuck's sake. I keep going back and going back and going back. I'm missing it, dude. Where's the point where we knew thousands of years ago that the Earth was round?
Before science even existed, because they weren't stupid. They had
Before science even existed, because they weren't stupid. How stupid of me. How could I miss that? That's where you showed it.
Access to basic logic and were able to comprehend simple proofs like this one, of which there are dozens. Just like you, they didn't know anything about gravity or forces or cosmology. And just like you, they had no idea what the moon is or what the sun is or what the stars are. And they figured it out all the same.
So just like me, they didn't know, but they figured it out all the same. I, to this day, still do not know what the moon is. I still do know not what the sun is. I've got pretty good educated guesses as to what causes them and what makes us see what we see, but I still don't know what they are. But you said that these people with no idea worked it out. You listen to his words. He said they worked it out. Unbelievable.
The moon is, or what the sun is, or what the stars are, and they figured it out all the same.
And they figured it out all the same. Can you believe that? Put them down, put them down, put them down. Ignorant pilgrims, ignorant people, ignorant desert dwellers, don't know anything, but they figured it out all the same. And our science has never changed since then because we worked it out way back then.
Because they didn't have to know what these objects are. They just had fully functional brains and a basic capacity for spatial reasoning.
There you go. How could you get it wrong?
So before you go and spew some emoji-laden nonsense in the comment section, take a moment to reflect and admit to yourself that what we went over here today is irrefutable.
What did you actually go over there that's irrefutable? I kept going back, looking for it, looking for it, looking for it. No, it's not there, it's not there, it's not there, it's not there. What did you produce again, Dave, that's irrefutable? I'm at a total loss. I don't really want to subject the viewers of this through this diatribe again, even though it's only a few minutes without me interjecting. Let's let's not mute you. Let's just
there is no way around it. Your usual windings of conspiracy and CGI have no place here. There is no science for you to blatantly deny. It's just
that's because you didn't bring any science, you numpty. You would admitted it. We've got no science here. We're not using any of it. We're just telling you you're wrong because fuck you.
Just basic logic that even a toddler could understand. If you can't wrap your head around this, there truly is no hope for you. So take a deep breath, let the facts in, and push the delusion out. Have a nice day.
I'd like to push you right out, man. But
hey, everyone. So you may remember the 10 challenges I offered to flat earthers a couple of months ago, and it's been very amusing watching them run around like chickens.
Right. So he's clearly a fucking liar. He brought nothing in that entire video. He brought really, really, really out of scale examples of what he is trying to debunk, and assumed that he actually bought something to defend his globe. But at the end of it, he bought nothing. My goodness, this is how these dishonest people operate. And for fuck's sakes, how YouTube gives them the higher ratings in the when people search flat Earth. I'm definitely going to have to find one more of this. This has made me a little bit cranky, almost. Professor Dave top 10, we'll search that again. There's got to be one that I keep missing. Top 10 planets, as I say. Mine is actually still in there as a live, which is really cool. Destroying flat Earth without using science 2. The Earth is definitely not flat. That was the one I just did. Destroying flat Earth without science 4. For somebody who doesn't want to do flat Earth videos, he's done a lot. They've got to be Professor Dave, dude. Come on. Professor Dave. Why is there not more videos? For the 5 worst arguments in flat Earth analysis with FTFE. I'm going to use that one. I've obviously started watching this before. Rightio. Sorry. I'm just going to have to relocate this one. I should try and leave something playing in the background, but that's not how it works because this is my channel and I do it my way, and paste works better than copy. Get link, download, rightio. So this is going to be cool. This is going to be called 5 worst arguments that flat in flat Earth debate and analysis with flat Earth. It should look closer. Right, yeah, cool. So now we're going to have to remove from studio and present. Man, I've become a professional at this now. Video file. What was it again? It's not there. It's not there. Come on, this is rough. Maybe if I close it, because it's only just downloaded. Maybe if I try again. Present. This is bad, man. Sorry to do this on a live stream, but I think there's Walking Axel is in the house. Hey, bro, how you doing? I decided I would not do this breakdown without getting shit faced first. So I'm feeling pretty happy. That's the one we want. It's there. So why isn't it open? Come on, video file. Sounds like a dirty word, doesn't it? It says it's in my files, but it's still not showing up here, man. 10 challenges, fabulous. That's the one. That's the one. Right. Got it. Here we go.
Many of you watched my annihilation of flat earther David Weiss, a con man who makes money peddling the dumbest hoax on the entire internet. Following that exchange, I visited with friend to the channel Fight the Flat Earth to do an analysis of the debate, and we decided to condense that down to a critique of the 5 dumbest things he said. If you fancy the longer version, that is linked below. Otherwise, enjoy this short trip down memory lane.
He knows a lot about the science stuff.
Dumbass motherfucker. Wish I could do it.
Professor Dave explains.
I know your talking points. So the reason, so this works because that's not moving. The things in the sky move. So if you take the third one from the left, which I know is flat, and you move it around, it's going to start to change shape, right? If the moon was a flat disc.
What the fuck? He thinks we live in like a warehouse-sized universe where he's pick things up and spin them around. What the fuck? That's one of the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard. I know wonder Dave Weiss is getting stirred here. I would be too.
I don't even know if that's one of your talking points or not. As it passed over you,
it
would
change
out shape. It would
bullshit. As I showed before, you know, when he started with the very first one I used, the very first thing is so ridiculously wrong and stupid and impossible that you've automatically got the mind of your opponent in a quiz. It's a very clever tactic. I'll give him that. Like how Dave Weiss even responded is blowing my mind, because that you've done so many reverse psychology in somebody's head. I'm definitely going to actually rewind that to the start so you can listen to that last bit he said. Listen to the way he does this.
I know your talking points. So the reason
I know your talking
this
points.
works because that's not.
This works. So he's just saying straight up, arrogant. This works.
Not moving. The things in the sky move. So if you take the third one from the left, which I know is flat.
So if you take the third one from the left, which I know is flat, the fuck is that? See what I mean? This is how they do it. This is how they do it. Start off ridiculous premise. So if you take the third one from the left, which you know is flat, who the fuck begins an argument with something like that? Think about it. Think about it. Don't just let it brush over you. This is deep programming. This is very clever shit. Very, very clever shit. If you take the third one from the left, which you know is flat, you're projecting images in somebody's mind. So you are physically taking something, and then you're told that you know it's already something. So it's like, so you know the earth is flat. So when you hear this, which you know is flat, and you take the third object from the left, it's like the normal human mind wouldn't have enough time to respond to that. It's a very clever linguistic programming method, man. You've automatically created an image in somebody's head which they never intended to have in the first place. They understand the earth is flat and stationary, and what we see above us calmly and slowly, relaxingly revolving around and creating the weather and the seasons, everything it's ever done since the beginning of time. But somehow, neuro-linguistic programmer dude can just jump in here and say, third object from the left, which you know to be flat. What the fuck? No flat earther has ever said third object to the left of what? And what do we know to be flat? That is unbelievable amount of neuro-linguistic programming in one little statement.
I know your talking points. So the reason, so this works because that's not moving. The things in the sky move. So if you take the third one from the left, which I know is flat, and you move it around, it's going to start to change shape, right? If the moon was a flat disk, I don't even know if that's one of your talking points or not.
Boom, 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 boom. Scat again, scat again, scat again, scat again. We've taken the third thing from the left, and it's flat, and we've moved around, and I don't even know if it's one of your talking points or not, but you've automatically hit the listener with the fact that obviously you must assume that it is, because wow, that is fucking impressive. I will give you that. You are a legend at the scattergun fallacy. I'm just going to give you all due credit. Listen to this bullshit again. Listen to this.
I know your talking points. So the reason, so this works because that's not moving. The things in the sky move. So if you take the third one from the left, which I know is flat, and you move it around, it's going to start to change shape, right? If the moon was a flat disk, I don't even know if that's one of your talking points or not, as it passed over you, it would change shape.
Incredible. As it passed over you, it would change shape. That, oh, all credit where it's due, and it's definitely due. Oh, God, that was just fucking brilliant. Mind blowing. We have to listen to that one more time, just to prove the point. Listen to every last word of this.
I don't think the moon is a flat disk at all.
Okay. I know your talking points. So the reason, so this works because that's not moving. The things in the sky move. So if you take the third one from the left, which I know is flat, and you move it around, it's going to start to change shape, right? If the moon was a flat disk, I don't even know if that's one of your talking points or not, as it passed over you, it would change shape. It would distort.
I don't think the moon is a flat disk at all.
Okay, so it doesn't matter though. That's why what you're...
There you go. He doesn't think the moon is a flat disk at all. Why are you even bringing that up? Brought in that absolute, complete irrelevance thing, throws him totally off guard, and Dave Weiss handles himself pretty reasonably and just says, that's not what he thinks at all. That whole piece of fucking well-prepared propaganda bullshit Absolutely brilliant. I'll grant you that. Couldn't write it better myself. Dave just shrugs it off. I don't think that at all.
Saying is stupid because these objects do not move. Now, the other problem is it's not.
Well, yeah, we would also say it's stupid because you're an idiot. So, but, geez, he goes through those words so quickly. I think each and every one has to be analysed really subtly and closely. Listen to the rebuttal and then this.
The reason, so this works because that's not moving. The things in the sky move. So if you take the third one from the left, which I know is flat, and you move it around, it's going to start to change shape, right? If the moon was a flat disk, I don't even know if that's one of your talking points or not. As it passed over you, it would change shape. It would,
I don't think the
distort.
moon is a flat disk at all.
You don't think the moon is a flat disk at all. You think she's speaking out your ass. So keep bamboozling.
Okay, so it doesn't matter though. That's why what you're saying is stupid because
he didn't say anything. You just put the words in his mouth and then you're accusing him, and that's what he is saying is stupid. Unbelievable. See, this is how a well-trained propagandist agent would probably act. Only he's a very poor one because he's showing himself through and through. A well-trained one would just stand well clear of this view. We ain't gonna fucking chance against a flat earther. But we'll throw in this amateur fucking small hat wearer, obviously, and he's putting words into his mouth he never even said and calling him stupid for saying things he never even said. This is brilliant. Fucking hell.
these objects do not move. Now, that's one of your talking points or not. As it passed over you, it would change shape. It would,
I don't think the
distort.
moon is a flat disk at
We
all.
don't say
Okay, so it doesn't matter though. That's why what you're saying is stupid because these objects do not
That's
move.
why what
Now,
you're
the
saying is
other
stupid
problem
that
is
he
it's
didn't
not
say.
just about shape. It's about other things like composition. Do you know what spectroscopy is?
Yeah, spectroscopy is you can measure gases, but it has to be in a container. Where's the container?
So this is quite clever, is that when you're measuring spectroscopy, what you're doing is you're measuring the illumination of different gases by isolating them, subjecting them to a stream of electrostimulation to ionize the gases, and therefore you will see the different lights that they create. So if you don't isolate them, which means putting them into containers, you would never know one from another. So he was dead right. He knows exactly what he was talking about. He just never got a chance to explain it because Professor Wanker here is so arrogant. Crude,
No. Stop. We are we're looking at light. We're looking at light, and we are understanding about the materials, right?
And the light comes from the various frequencies of the gases when you isolate them. You wouldn't know unless you isolated them into separate containers. Once you've isolated them, then you can tell which one is the most dominant one, and you then would assume that is some of the reason why stars glow in the colors that they give us, because that's what spectroscopy is all about, measuring the luminescent variations of what we see in the stars, which is exactly what you'd have to understand by isolating the various gases in the first place. So Dave
Weiss, the composition of things based on light. So when you start talking about gases, you show me immediately that you don't even know what spectroscopy is. So you do not know the ways in which we figure out things about celestial objects. You literally don't even know the definitions of the words that represent the techniques that we use. So why are you even talking about it?
So my question is, spectroscopy needs to be in a container. Otherwise, you don't know what
spectroscopy needs to be in a container. The study of how light interacts with matter needs to be in a container. What does that mean?
Otherwise, when you're looking at the moon, you don't know what gases you're seeing in between us and the moon.
Gases? The moon is solid. The moon is a solid object.
He said the gases between us and the moon. Why don't you even listen, for fuck's sake? Not a Professor Dave, sorry. Nearly said wanker again. Why don't you listen? He just said to analyze the spectrum of light frequencies that are illuminating gases between us and the moon. And you're just saying, well, the moon is not made of gas. Yeah.
How do you know that the moon is solid? Spectroscopy needs to be in a container.
Take it back again because they just fast forwarded
Spectroscopy
over that.
needs to be in a container. The study of how light interacts with matter needs to be in a container. What does that mean?
Otherwise, when you're looking at the moon, you don't know what gases you're seeing in between us and the moon.
Gases? The moon is solid. The moon is a solid object.
How do you know that the moon is solid? Spectroscopy needs to be in a container. Otherwise, you don't know what you're looking at.
That phrase is one of the
dumbest
sentence
ever uttered by a human person.
Spectroscopy needs to be in a container. Like,
yeah, I mean, like what this does is just shows you the desperation with which he needs to stick to a script.
Cracky, I haven't been looking at the chat. Sorry, Walker and Axel, but I'm so sorry to hear you break your rib just under your little boob. Oh my goodness, that would be the worst place to break one. Feeling for you, sis. Anything I can do. That's terrible. How'd you break your rib anyway? Jeez. What, did you walk into a cop?
Because he hears words he doesn't understand, and then he goes, where can I filter this into one of my dumb talking points? Oh, maybe I think that sounds a little bit like atmosphere needs a container. So let me take this unrelated thing he's trying to say and jump to this like in a completely nonsensical manner. Like,
so he's trying to connect the argument of gas needs a container with spectroscopy because he's saying that spectroscopy measures gases. So therefore you can't do spectroscopy without a container because gas is involved.
Well, that'd be about right. Yeah, because the various gases are the ones that give a different spectrum of light and color. So therefore spectroscopy, the study of light and color, would involve which gases you're seeing. Again, if you don't isolate them to work out which is which and which is going to dominate, and then by using various combinations of them in different spectrums and bulbs, and until you work out which one gives the light that you see, you pretty much have to isolate them and then combine them at a known rate until you can make a matching thing to what nature gives us. Spectroscopy absolutely requires the isolation of the various gases to see which color they fluoresce.
Yeah, but is it? I mean, spectroscopy is measuring light. You can do spectroscopy on we're just measuring light that's emitted. You can do it with a solution. You can do it with it's not specific to gases. So it's just gases need to be in a container. So spectroscopy needs to be in a container. It's like, what the hell?
I mean, that sounds like T-shirt material to me. Spectroscopy needs to be I'd buy that with Professor Dave face on.
Of course you would.
That'd be pretty good. That's a good shirt. Yeah, I like that.
So there is a few phrases that flat earthers love to parrot to try and seem like they know what they're talking about. One of these mantras is that gas needs a container. This particular dumb thing comes from someone cherry picking a few words on a website about gas laws, which led to a massive lie and misunderstanding about the second law of thermodynamics.
Well, that's quite interesting, Craig, because I just saved myself. I'll see if I can find it. I sent myself a quote from me, they're way down here, about air, pressure, and gravity. And I particularly like this one. So I'll make you look like the small unit, and I'll be slightly bigger as I read this off, Craig. What this one says about air pressure in particular is air demonstrates the closed system. We cannot talk about gas pressure without a container because this is given by molecular collisions. The pressure determines the desire to escape of the molecules, which therefore must necessarily be contained. Air refutes the Earth's rotation because it is not bound to the force field. If the Earth rotated, the air would remain still, so we would have a constant wind, a destructive wind. A single gas molecule does not interact with what they call gravity. It moves in any direction regardless of its kinetic energy. Furthermore, since the molecules are separated from each other, it cannot form an electromagnetic network that interacts with the electric field in such a way as to be attracted. Finally, gravity does not appear in the gas laws. The concept of diffusion refers precisely to the fact that molecules move solitarily because they are stable and do not require bonds, complete octet. The gas is like a set of small spheres in continuous movement. While in solids and liquids, these spheres are connected to each other to form a single body, which will therefore be affected by electrostatic induction because the electrons are free to move inside of the grid. Water proved plain. I think they might mean plain. There's a couple of typos in here, but I'm just reading it word for word. Regardless of the size and the mass of water in a state of rest, its free surface will always be flat, equipotential. There is nothing else to add. The topic closes the question. The Earth is flat, and the plane, also containing the time dimension, hyperplane, bends with respect to an observer looking away so that the timeline remains unchanged. But why is the free surface of liquids perfectly flat? Because what they call gravitational force is generated by a charged flat surface, electrostatic induction, which therefore creates equipotential flat surfaces. I'm not entirely sure I agree entirely with that last paragraph of it, but the first part about the gas molecules is that they will fill the container. That's how you get the pressure. The pressure is measured as the urge to escape of the container. That's the pressure gradient. There's no better way of explaining it. I love the way that said. They said it as simply as that. The urge of the gas molecules to escape. So even on the Earth, a pressure gradient has to be contained. So the further away you got from it, something I could waffle on about for frickin' hours. I'm just gonna.
But they hold on to their religious chanting of gas needs a container to try and debunk things like the Earth having an atmosphere when space is supposed to be a vacuum.
Yeah, exactly. That to me is a globe killer. That's the end of the story. That's it. Over and for naught. High pressure will always move to low pressure unless contained. That's it. Boom. Globe killed. Good night. See you later.
Of course, we all know that gravity deals with that just fine, no problem, but you say gravity to a flat earther and their eyes kind of glaze over and they start drooling a little. But here, Flat Earth Dave is using the same argument to try and somehow discredit spectroscopy. His logic is that spectroscopy measures gases, and as gases need to be in a container, you can't use spectroscopy in so-called space. Yeah, that's dumb on quite a few levels. He is simultaneously showing a lack of understanding of space, gravity, light, vision.
Craig, dumbass. Is he talking about doing it in space, or is he talking about doing it on Earth where we actually use spectroscopy?
And what spectroscopy actually is, that's quite impressive. Electromagnetic radiation, like the visible light spectrum, carries energy in waves, and when these waves hit something, they cause an interaction, some change in the matter that they hit. The study of these effects of these interactions is called spectroscopy. When the waves and matter interact, two different things can happen, either absorption or emission. Absorption is when electrons and matter...
Cartoons, this is how you learn. This is how you do physics. This is how you explain physics to the world. Cartoons. Purple waves going into a white ball on an electronic screen. That is how you do physics. No shit. This is science, man. You listen to the top scientists. These guys know it all. Oh, my God. This is going to be funny. Hey, Pete. I'm good. How you doing? That's all right.
You call up Christmas a bit early?
Yeah, cheers.
Forget otherwise.
You know what you're doing, though.
What's that?
You just interrupted right in the middle of me doing a live stream on YouTube, so you are now live.
Bye.
Streaming on the internet. You can hang around for a bit if you like.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Right, I'll call you back when I'm done. Cheers, Pete. Beautiful. That's my brother. Lovely guy. God, that's cool because it's that time of year, right? I better finish this up pretty soon then, but we'll listen to
matter absorb energy from electromagnetic radiation and move from a ground state to an excited state, or vice versa. If matter moves from an excited state to a ground state, it then emits electromagnetic radiation in energetic waves, and we call this emission. Spectroscopy isn't just for measuring the interactions between radiation and gases in deep space, though. It's used in everyday life. Measuring the light from these interactions allow us to do things in the medical field, like look inside you with MRIs.
Craig, you are full of shit.
Do cancer research, drug identification, all the way to quality control in the beverage industry and chemical research. Even in home improvement stores to match the color of your couch to your wallpaper. Spectroscopy does not need to be in a container. This is what flat earth conmen like David Weiss do. Try to sound smart and hope that you are too dumb to not notice, but unfortunately for him, he was debating Professor Dave.
So getting back to your point where you have somebody in Santiago,
you didn't even get a chance to fucking answer the question there. That's the thing. So I'm just going to stop that for a sec. Dave Weiss never got a proper chance to even answer the question, what he was talking about. He just said, yeah, well, it involves isolating the gases so you can observe them. For fuck's sakes. To try and debunk somebody on that is just like the height of dishonesty and the lengths that these cretins have to go to.
When they see the Southern Cross, well, they don't see it at the same time. They see it 12 hours apart from Santiago.
They don't see it at the same time? So people looking south can't see the night sky at the same time?
David,
Well,
if you understand what the flat earth model is, somebody's in Santiago.
They don't have a model.
Listen.
Yeah.
Stop being a dick. Okay.
You stop being a dick. Your entire existence is being a dick to all of science. So stop telling me to stop being a dick.
Keep going. So somebody.
Wow, that was so scientific. That really, like blows my mind that the top scientists of today defending the globe.
Is in Santiago and it's midnight. They're looking at the Southern Cross. Well, somebody in Australia that's looking south, they're looking at the noon sun. You tell me how they
noon
can see
sun.
The
how many? Sun. How many time zones apart are they? Are they 12 time zones apart?
Well, at noon, close to noon, right?
Okay, no, first of all, not close to noon, but it doesn't matter. How about you go 4 hours apart? Why don't you go 4 time zones apart? They should still be looking in completely different directions. 12 midnight, 4 a.m., night sky, both looking south, both can see the Southern Cross. On your pizza world should be looking.
Very interesting that it should bring up that they are 4 time zones apart. When technically we should be a lot more. No, actually, now I think of it, I was 19 hours apart when I was in California. So that would be 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours apart, California to the east coast of Australia. That'll make a lot of sense.
In completely different directions. Explain that.
Dave, when the only time that can happen is in Johannesburg and Santiago, and if you add magnetic declination in there, they're both looking in the same direction.
Magnetic declination?
Yeah.
So you think just saying the word magnet is going to be an argument here that's going to work for you?
Look up the magnetic declinations of those areas. You don't know what direction you're facing, right? There's certain areas of Antarctica that the magnetic declination is 170 degrees. So when your compass says north is that way, it's 170 degrees the other way, according to Noah or whoever's in charge of that.
Yep.
Right?
Look, you can dress it up however you want. We're talking about looking this way and looking that way, and they see the same thing. And you're fixating on Santiago and Johannesburg because you think that they're far enough apart that they're not going to both be nighttime. I'm telling you, you can go any distance apart. Just go from Perth to Sydney, right? That's far enough apart that if you're both looking directly south, you're looking in different directions, and you can see the same thing.
This is a
You
brilliant
cannot
style.
explain that. That's why you're trying to throw out jargon to confuse.
Come on, hurry it up. Hurry it up.
When in doubt, say the word magnet.
Yeah. So he thinks magnetic declination can physically change the position of stars based on where you're looking. Because even though those stars are in different places on a flat Earth, magnetic declination makes it for some reason look like the stars would look like if you were on a sphere.
This was probably his most desperate moment in the entire exchange.
Yeah.
He just had absolutely nothing to say.
So I genuinely think he doesn't understand in the slightest what magnetic declination is. Magnetic declination is simply the difference between where your compass will point and what we class as true north, right? That's right. It. It's the
because the poles, the magnetic poles are not aligned with the geographic poles.
Yeah, exactly.
And in fact, the magnetic poles move. Like this is another funny thing about like they want the North Pole, like they want magnets to point towards the center of the pizza land. That's geographic North Pole. That's not the magnetic North Pole. And the magnetic North Pole moves. So I'm sorry, like a little magic. They think they at Santa's workshop they have like a big pole or something, and all the magnets are pointing towards that. Well, no, it's moving around.
Yeah.
So.
It is desperation. Oh, magnetic declination makes the stars appear in the way they should, but it's still flat for some reason. It's
the dumbest thing I've ever
I
heard.
wish that you'd asked him to explain magnetic declination, because I think that would have been pure
I should have
comedy.
said,
yeah,
I should have said define magnetic declination.
So we all know that flat earthers like to throw out scientific jargon without having a clue what it means, but Weiss took that to the next level when he tried to bring up magnetic declination. Of course, anyone can see that on a flat Earth, south is a completely different direction for every single longitude line, such that it's impossible for people in different places to look south and see the same stars.
No. Because we don't see the same stars looking out across the flat Earth. We look up. You got to remember that, Dave. I know it's hard, but the stars are up there, up, not out across. Every single time you show images like that looking out across, it just shows how little you have even given a chance to understanding what.
Even though in the real world, that is what happens, because south means toward the South Pole. This singular fact proves the Earth isn't flat, but con man Weiss desperately needed a way out of this obvious conclusion, so he just decided to say NASA and spew.
Even on the ball, we would still be looking out and up at night time, looking at completely different stars, not looking out down towards our feet. Out there to see all the stars. Oh, look, all they are just above the horizon. They're up. For fuck's sakes. These guys are so ridiculously dumb.
The words magnetic declination, as though that was going to save him. Since we didn't get to properly discuss how unbelievably stupid that was for him to say, let's talk about it now. Once again, on the pizza land, two people on any two longitude lines would look south and see completely different stars, as they would be looking in totally different directions.
As you would on a globe, as you went around the sun, you'd always be looking in a different direction. 90 degrees in 3 months, 180 degrees in 6 months, another 90 degrees, another 3, and back we've started, and the parallax of them should be so ridiculously changed in the heliocentric model. Fuck's sakes. Try and tell us our model is ridiculous when yours is like so far impossible that would rather believe a silly, simplistic model that you've just shown, which is completely wrong anyway. In comparison, that is absolutely not the flat Earth model. How you just put the stars, 50,000 miles above us?
As opposed to what they actually see, which is the same stars, since they are actually looking in the same direction. Weiss's reply was magnetic declination. So what's that? Magnetic declination is simply the angle of the difference between true north, which is at the geographical North Pole, and magnetic north, which points toward the magnetic North Pole.
I mean, I hope they don't show school kids this stuff. It doesn't get any dumber than this. Far out. Imagine you had a 7 or 8-year-old growing up learning, Mom, I don't believe in the flat earth. Someone tell me about it. Yeah, watch this. This guy will explain it for you. And he shows cartoons like that where people are looking in the same direction at the bottom of the globe at something completely different when each should be looking parallel outwards, whichever way they face. Parallel outwards, not towards the same single point, down. These cartoon characters, honestly, God, I thought of one the other day. If it was a South Park character, the best name for him, that's what he would look like. That's what he would look like.
The point where Earth's magnetic field points directly downwards. The angle of magnetic declination changes based on your position on Earth, and it also changes over time because the magnetic North Pole moves. The Geological Survey of Canada determined in 2005 that the magnetic North Pole was west of Ellesmere Island in northern Canada, and then in 2009 it entered the Canadian Arctic and is now moving toward Russia at 55 to 60 kilometers per year. That's what magnetic declination means. So, for Weiss to try and use this concept as the reason that two observers looking in completely different directions somehow end up seeing the same stars is absolute nonsense. Earth's magnetic field doesn't magically change what people are seeing in the sky. It's just a con man using big words to try and confuse the person he is talking to, which failed miserably. This was one of my favorite.
Wow, I love the way that just hypnotized me into feeling that way. Geez, that was actually professionally done. I actually almost started believing for a second that what did he say? He actually said, you heard it. You can watch it on
sections in the entire exchange because of how transparently defeated he looked. There were a handful of moments like this where it was absolutely obvious that he knows he's lying for cash and is not interested in discussing reality whatsoever.
What about eclipses, guys?
What was he being paid for? Where was he lying for cash? You know, like, fair enough, he's got his app and he's got all these other things, and you have to admit he's one of you guys, hey? He wears the small hat. You know, it's like, maybe it's, God, yeah, now it all makes sense. Trouble is, damage is done.
What about eclipses?
Hold on.
That's my third talking point. I hope we get to it.
Let's finish this point. Your mainstream science says that because of the spin of the Earth, because of the centrifugal force, that the water bulges at the equator 14 miles high.
Now I get it. Gosh, I'm a bit slow. Sorry, walking, Axel. Now I understand how you break your rib. So, I'm just so I can't see really well without glasses when I'm reading the writing. I have to put glasses on to read it, so I have to squint a little bit. But when I'm reading the photo, I can see it up close and cool. But anyway, it's all good. Trying to get the hinge off a gate, wrenches slipped, and so did I. In other words, tried to break a nut. I'm in California. It's just like poetry. You could put that into a Japanese. You do with poetry. Trying to get the hinge off a gate. Wrenches slipped, and so did I. In other words, trying to break a nut. I'm in California. That is just beautiful. Poetry. Is it a Japanese king? I know it's something. Japanese poetry. It's going way off track, but I'm so sorry. You broke your rib. God damn, that would hurt a lot because I know I've broken a rib before. I've run into the police before a couple of times. Ribs can take up to 8 weeks to heal. Cool. Grenade. Yes. Bam. You got it. Is that cool? This is what the internet's all about. Might be an 8 or 10-second delay, but eventually. Control plus. Going to listen to some more of this rubbish. I don't know why I'm punishing myself, but it's 8:05 p.m. Call my brother back in a minute. We've got to get through this, and then I'm done.
This is what Neil deGrasse Tyson and science tells us about the spin of the Earth. The water at the equator, yes, it does. It bulges 14 miles high. It makes the Earth 29 miles wider at the equator.
That's right. If it's oblate, it's 29 miles wider at the equator. You can't deny that. Doesn't mean it's 29 miles in one spot. It's spread out over a big area, but that's
no. That's the Earth, not the water. What are you talking about? Are you a moron, dude? The radius. This is what happened. You're very confused.
So let me ask you a question.
No, stop, because you just said a very specific number, and I know why you said that number. The diameter of the Earth is about 27 miles greater at the equator. That's the whole Earth. You're trying to pretend that it's all water, that there's just this big thing of water that's 14 miles. Is that what you're genuinely trying to say?
Somebody's making breakfast. Damn. So if it's 8 p.m. here and it's 5 hours ahead, you must be like 1068. Oh God, you just took the words right out of my mouth. It must have been when you were reading my mind. Damn. 106 a.m. Cool. That's awesome. So 8:07 p.m. here now. There's definitely a 10-second delay. There's no kissing.
Are you that stupid?
Well, that's what Neil deGrasse Tyson says. Your mainstream science says that because of the spin of the Earth, because of the centrifugal force, that the water bulges at the equator 14 miles high.
I couldn't stop laughing when he said that. He thinks there's like you would sail along the ocean and there'd be a physical bulge of water going up.
Yeah, a 14-mile high tidal wave is what he was saying that science claims.
Yeah, but of
why would science claim that? It's not there. Like, what is he talking about? Like, but in the end, I understood what he was talking about. He was.
I think this is a bit of a straw manning either side. Nobody would say that there's a 14-mile high wall of water. It's just saying the bulge, which would be barely unnoticeable anyway, would be 14 miles high. If the globular model was true, it wouldn't be something that a flat earther is trying to use as an absolute proof to say, oh, this is a 14-mile high wall of water. That'd be stupid. Even flat earthers will grant you that some of your bullshit works.
Talking about the equatorial bulge at the equator of the Earth.
Isn't it? So it's a 43-mile difference between the equatorial and the polar diameters. It's very, very small, right?
Yeah, but it matched that number. It matched that number such that I knew that that's what he's talking about. That's the difference in the radius from the center of the Earth to the North Pole versus any point on the equator. But that's the whole Earth.
Yeah, not just the water.
Does he not understand the oceans, as deep as they are to us, our tiny little bodies, are a tiny fraction of one.
I got better things to do. I can't be bothered listening to these two idiots anymore. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. I may do another one later because I thoroughly enjoy doing this sort of stuff. But next time I'll do some research and find something to debunk before I start. We'll catch you next time. Thanks so much, Walk and Axel and HE Media especially. Great to have you here. As long as everybody else that was here, there's still apparently 6 people watching. You guys are awesome. Appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.